hopefully we're going live. You know how YouTube flummox me every time we go in, they change something. This time it's telling me I've been going live for 6 hours. I seriously hope I haven't. Oh no, that would be dreadful. Anyway, we're here. Yay. You had, hadn't you? You've got me in stereo and one of me's more than enough. Oh, Mike, honestly, talk about basics. Right, hello, good evening, welcome. I can't see the chat. Now they've taken the chat off me. You know how things go weird, Mike, every time? Chat, missing in action. So I'm going to have to go to my own YouTube channel to find my own video. Doubtless they've sent me an email to tell me that I'm live. Which is always quite concerning, isn't it? And I'll be able to say hello to you. But if you're there, then you're ahead of me, because YouTube's acting up as ever. So say hello to me. Say hello to me while I try and find myself so I can say hello to you.
Hello.
Right, I can see myself live. Now everything's jumping around. Oh, yes, I don't turn you on, not just yet. Do you want to say hello to everybody?
No, it's fine.
There you go, you're on.
Oh, hello, everybody.
See, you've now said hello.
Right.
Excellent. Right, what's going on in the chat? Let me get in here. Right, I'm going back to the top, or I'm going to miss people. Jonathan was... Oh, I would say Jonathan was first, but actually, technically, Mike, you were first. But never mind. First MacBiter, Johnny I. Hello, Johnny. Your VM. I'm glad you found it again. Hello, Kim. Snowy Seattle, I'm loving your snow, and Big Kev is loving your snow as well. Kevin Alder, who's just joined us in Slack. He loves his snow. I would say he's even worse than I am. He's in Virginia, so he does get snow, but so far not much. So he's very, very envious of what you've got, aren't we all? We've just got howling winds.
I think we have a new person.
Oh, do we? Right, I'll get down to that. Stir crazy due to the snow. Well, if you could see the mug that was on my desk, Kim, you'd appreciate that. I would appreciate that, because I love snow, and not much in the way of overtly a people person either, believe it or not. Kiva was adorable. Those little boots, they were beautiful. Lola, not quite so chuffed with things like that, but never mind. Hello, Debbie. Hello, Graham. A nasty cold. Oh, no, that's not good. Get well soon, Graham. You're passing it around at work. That's the problem. Oh, well done, Graham. Clean bill of health. Kim keeps us on the straight and narrow with that, doesn't she? Mike had a message for you, didn't he?
Did I?
He said the pink toothbrush was fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm loving the black one. Hello, Alex. Oh, you've just followed me on Facebook and I followed you back. What's the Slack channel? You've been looking for it. Okay, we've been not advertising that well enough then, are we? It's macbites.co.uk/Slack. If you are already a member, it will redirect you. If you're not, it will prompt you to join. We need to update that link at the end of the month. Don't forget, Mike. Just put that down for Mike. Anyway, lots going on in Slack, but also lots going on here tonight. So, I think we're ready to go, aren't we? Last minute change in running order. Because something new. Anyway, we always like something new, don't we? Right, where am I with all of my stuff? Have I got everything going? I've done my last minute checks, but you know what you're like. And you've got to go back and check 3 times. I think we're okay. So fingers crossed, you'll understand why when we get into the presentation. Yes, an issue of the week. Okay, so you should be seeing my desktop. And any second now, you'll be seeing the slides. So, back where we started. Excellent. Right, so if you're with us in the chat, do say hello. We got a question last week. It was very apposite, I thought. Do we know that you're there if you don't chat? And the thing is, no, we don't. We've no idea you're there if you don't chat. All we get from YouTube is a number. And that number is how many people have watched it overall while we're live. What the peak viewing, but basically no, we don't know you're there unless you tell us that you're there. So just say hi. Hello, Tracy. See, easy, simples. Right, so what are we doing tonight? Hopefully I've updated this slide properly. Yes, that looks okay. That looks okay. So lots of Notion, but we do love Notion. And I'm so glad to see people doing their homework. If you weren't with us last week, we did part 1 of our Notion 2020. And I said, you could go away and you could build that. And we have had people in the Slack channel telling us they are building it and asking questions, which is great. So there's been an update to Notion. We'll have a look at that. New browser, got to have a look at that. Also got 3 questions about Ulysses. So I thought we'd cover that. Should have guessed the Slack address, it was obvious. I must admit, Alex, I'm not brilliant with Facebook. I do the best I can, but I am not brilliant. But I will... Actually, I've found a way to be in 2 places at once. So that always works well for me. So I will post some stuff in there. But I'm not brilliant. Individual messages to me. Found some from about 4 years ago and thought, where have they come from? Because they don't give you any notifications. So yeah, I'm not the best on Facebook, but I am there. Okay, before we get going, you need to be sure that you are watching in HD. So that's the cog down the lower right hand corner. Sometimes it resets itself, but you need to be on 720p. So make sure you're down there and you are indeed on, well, 1280p it is, whatever they call it. HD, that's what you need. As ever, we are going to start... Oh, didn't know I was on Facebook. No, that would be easily missed. But I am. I'm also on Instagram. I occasionally manage to post something on Instagram as well. But wherever I am, I'm Elaine Giles. So you'll find me. You'll find me. There was another Elaine Giles, wasn't there, from the UK? And apparently she's a very well-loved lady who ran the ticket office at Portsmouth Football Club. So whenever you Googled Elaine Giles, she would come up as well as me. And people absolutely loved her. When you think of what it's like at football clubs, that's an achievement, isn't it? Well, she died over Christmas. So Mike found... you found that somewhere, didn't you? Or did I? I probably got a Google alert for myself, telling myself that there was an obituary. But apparently she's a lovely lady, and you went into the chat forum and people were absolutely gutted that she'd gone. So there's one less Elaine Giles to get confused with me, is basically the thing. So you can find me. Here for the start and then catch up. Okay, good evening, Ferrers. Right, as ever, we're going to start with the week at MacBites headquarters. I've just realised I've done something incredibly stupid, but never mind. I can explain why I do it.
Started the recording.
I have started the recording. That's not what I've done that's incredibly stupid. I could go out and fix it, but hey, why? What I do when I'm putting the presentation together, because there's loads of slides, as you know, 131 to be precise, I make sure that I've got something for every bit. And when I do, I put a green dot on it. Didn't take the green dot away. But hey, never mind. You don't mind a green dot, do you? We started Saturday really well. More flood alerts. You see, this is what we have to put up with. That orange bit at the bottom is probably less than half a mile from where we are. And it was on flood alert. Yes, again. Not severe flood alert, danger to life, luckily, but enough to be like, seriously, not again. You think they'd do something with it. But it's still raining. It was raining then and it's raining now. So Saturday was a bit of a washout, but never mind, we went on to Sunday. Somebody was a happy bunny on Sunday. Oh, look at that. Look at that face. We went and had lunch at our favourite hostelry, the Bramley Farm. And you know what that means? They had New Year cakes. And we're going to share them with you. These are different. Oh, they do different cakes every time. That one's the Black Forest one. It was alarmingly nice. It was also alarmingly tall. I think that one was over 11 inches. That one is sponge cake, I think, which I don't partake of. I don't eat any of this at all, but they're nice to look at and take photos of, aren't they? They surpassed themselves with a carrot cake this time. That is like heart attack on a plate, really, isn't it? It used to have carrots around the side, but they've gone mad with the stuff on the side. Now, with those, you get a slice of them, but with the next one, you get the whole thing. An eclair for 2020. I think it's actually bigger than the last one. Seriously. Then there was the Mars Attack. Now, Mike has been known to have a Mars Attack. That one's got Mars bars on the top. So the little bits that you can see just under that. How do you eat something so big? Well, luckily, they do a cake away. So either you can have your meal and then choose to buy a cake to take home, or you can start to eat your cake there, and if you can't finish it, for which read, no one ever finishes this, you can choose to start it, and then what's over, take that home. There was chocolate brownie. That's a little bit large for chocolate brownie, isn't it? So they actually do takeaways of meals as well. So you can actually go round and create yourself a carvery on the plate and then take it to one of the assistants and they'll put it in a plastic box and you can take it home. People do this. They do this. It's insane. And there's some profiteroles at the back as well. I miss those. How? Now, the next one is, they've done this one before, but they've done it really differently this time. That used to have chocolate all the way down, and they used to cut a slice out so you could see that it was red velvet at the bottom. And what they've done this time is leave it bare, a naked red velvet. It did look rather nice, but I don't eat wheat flour. Wheat flour intolerant. So no chance for anything like that. Then there was the vanilla slice. I defy any single person to eat one of these cakes, not without being sick anyway. Now that one, I must admit, toffee's one of my favourite things. That one does look rather nice. I also, when I ate chocolate, I was partial to white chocolate. And there was a white chocolate one as well, which was actually Bailey's. So that alcoholic as well. So we said we'd share cakes with you. You have had cakes. They're fabulous, aren't they? They're amazing. Anyway, we went into the week. And good news in Slack. We had news in the Slack chat, which is macbites.co.uk/Slack if you want to join us. We said last week that Helen was getting new tech toys. Well, Helen's new tech arrived. It was a hard drive and a keyboard. All working well, reported back from Helen, after a bit of a hairy, scary moment with the drive. If you are a Mac user, whenever you get a drive, it's probably not going to be the most optimum format. And it can be quite hairy, scary to plug it in and then have to fiddle with it. But all is well so far, so everybody fingers crossed for Helen. Send Helen a message via the chat and I will relay it on. She watches on a Saturday, so hello to Helen in the future. Do they do anything I can eat? I tend to have a carvery, Jonathan. I tend to have turkey, beef. What's the other one? Gammon, isn't it? They do 4 different meats. I think one is one I don't eat, pork. So they do 4 meats. You can have the meats you want, and then you go along. A huge. This thing's like 20 metres long, and you can pick what else you want with it, what vegetables you want. I tend to limit myself to parsnips. I really do like parsnips. Don't eat potatoes, but do eat the parsnips. In terms of desserts, if I was having one, I'd probably go for ice cream. They'd have an ice cream bar. Take a picture of the ice cream bar for you next time. So, well done, Helen. Very, very proud of you. And here's wishing your drive a long life. Now, Monday was also Madam's Day. Lola headed off. She headed off and left us. She was heading off on a sleepover with her first family. Which meant she left the safe confines of MacBites headquarters. But she was back on Tuesday. She returned exhausted and spent the entire day spark out. I don't think there was much sleeping done on the sleepover. That was as awake as she got, trust me. Just look at that face. The face that says, if you want to go for a walk, feel free, but I'm having a nap. Seriously, you're on your own on this walk. And as for using the toilet or bathroom, forget it. She was spark out. I have no idea what she'd been up to. We reckon she'd had a night on the tiles. Oh, now Graham's got a 2 terabyte Toshiba arrive as well. Your precious one died last Sunday. I hope it was a backup drive that died. Yes, your time machine drive, and it's currently backing up. I set mine to do a backup overnight, and usually the backup takes, it's SSD to SSD, usually takes about 2 hours. Took 8.5 hours. No idea what it was up to. But anyway, it worked. It worked. Oh, yes, you're moving, aren't you, Deborah? Oh, all the way across country. And the dog took the red eye. Oh, bless. Oh, I do hope he did. That can be quite stressful, can't it? I worry taking Lola 5 minutes up the road, but she clearly had a whale of a time. Which took us through to Wednesday. Why, by Wednesday, oh, Madam had got a mojo back. She decided it was time to send Pinky to toy heaven. So off Pinky went. That was one of her first toys. The lovely Rachel bought Pinky. We already had a pig called Perky. So we decided that that one would be Pinky. So if you're old enough, you'll remember Pinky and Perky. I'm barely old enough, obviously. My mother used to tell me about them. But that was the head, and it was on like 2 rope legs. The rope legs are fine. Head, not so well. So that one went off to toy heaven. Luckily, Mike had a good day, didn't you? United managed not to ruin Mike's day. It was a bit scary to start with. Wolves scored, but VAR disallowed. United won 1-0, which meant they're through to the next round of the FA Cup. So he's a very happy bunny, aren't you? He's a happy bunny. Thursday. Thursday could have started better. You'll see the time on that clock. Not that that clock's my clock, but I was working into the small hours. And the worst imaginable thing happened to me. The broadband went. So my first thought is, I just need to reboot in the house. I'll just check the service status. And as you can see, it really was the small hours when I was working, 17 minutes past 2. No broadband at all. Not a happy bunny. Plus the fact it says fixed estimate the 16th. Well, obviously at that stage, it's that you've got 22 hours for them to fix it and still be on time with that estimate. Luckily, it didn't take that long, but much, much later. Much, much later. Almost 5 p.m. The TV still wasn't right. Now, since we don't have a TV, we weren't bothered. Promises to get the TV fixed by Friday at that stage. Can you imagine? I mean, I know it's different in the States. You have cable packages and stuff. But traditionally in the UK, you had an aerial and you got free-to-air TV. Now you pay, but you get the same channels. You get the channels you pay for, but you also get the free-to-air channels. I can't imagine not having access to a free-to-air channel if I wanted one when I'm paying for it. But people have tended to take the aerial off the roof, in which case you've only got your cable provider providing these free-to-air channels that you're now not seeing because they're having a problem. But as you can see, the broadband was back, so I didn't care. And then on to Friday. This is a classic. Who remembers? I mean, you should all remember. Graham remembers Pinky and Perky. Excellent. They used to squeak, wasn't they? But I loved Sooty and Sweep. And I met Harry Corbett. I went to a show as a child. I must have been about 5. There was only kids allowed in. And I always wanted to see the Sooty show because I love Sue. I love pandas, me. And my mum said, OK, I'll get you tickets. And I went down there and I actually met Harry Corbett. So I was very, very pleased. It was never the same after Harry Corbett. Anyway, Friday. Who remembers Bollard Gate? Now, if you've never heard of MacBites, you might wonder what the gate's in aid of. A little bit like Watergate, basically a scandal, basically something to be horrified about. Well, Bollard Gate. Bollard Gate was when a local taxi driver ran through the bollard and knocked the bollard and the lamppost flying down, if you recall. Which you probably will because we've been going on about it. The council sent out somebody to repair it. Obviously, sitting down on the job, he couldn't do much. So his friends came to help him. And after about an hour and a half, they got as far as putting down 2 cones. Took 3 of them to do that. Then it stayed like that for weeks, if you remember, with bare cables. I do hope all of this is coming back to you. We weren't supposed to be concerned about those bare wires. But anyway, nobody actually went up in smoke. Eventually, this was about 3 or 4 weeks later. No, I think it was nearer 6 weeks. Anyway, the One Trafford crew arrived to fix it. It took them nearly all day, but eventually, when they left, we had a shiny new bollard and lamppost. So, you're wondering what's going on at this stage, aren't you? Bad news! Somebody hit the other bollard. It was only a matter of time, and at least they didn't hit the new one. But hey, it's not looking too good, is it? The second bollard is now at an alarming angle. Do you think the internet outage was a mere coincidence? I wondered about that. I also wondered where the bulb was inside there. Anyway, while I'm ranting about that, can I also mention the worst piece of parking I think I've ever seen? Do you notice that car? Yes, it's on the pavement. All of it. The entire car is on the pavement. There's not an inch for pedestrians. That's just disgusting. I've been ranting, and it's still there. it's not just they popped in for 5 minutes. It's been there for at least 3 days. If you've got a pram or you're pushing a bike or you're in a wheelchair, you are not getting round that. And if you've
got a dog.
Or you've got a dog, you can't get past if you've got a dog. I don't quite know why. If the bit where it's dipped, the pavement, that's so you can cross the road. And obviously it's parked across that as well. So if the police are watching, could you please shift that car? It's diabolical, that's absolutely diabolical. Graham, they should redesign them as what were they used to be called? Weeble people. The Weebles, weren't they? Were they
Weebles wobble, but they don't fall.
That's right. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. It was a toy from when we were a kid. And you used to flick them and they'd wobble, but then they'd stand up again. So I was thinking, 2 birds, 1 stone. If somebody wants to have another dabble with the other bollard, they could take the car out as well. It's getting to be dangerous outside our front door. Anyway, that was our week, as you can tell. Now, DEVONthink, the ebook. You may recall we talked about DEVONthink. It was re-released, new version 3, back in September. It's fabulous. And I found a free book. It's from takecontrolbooks.com/DEVONthink-3. And it is completely free. So they're a great company with all of the books that they do. And as I say, that book right down there is free. So if you went and you got it, like I recommended, and it is worth getting, just as a quick aside, it is worth getting.
I got it.
Yes, even Mike got it. He hasn't bought DEVONthink yet, but he's got the book. It's not just a little pamphlet. It's a whole 250 plus pages of goodness about DEVONthink. And the reason I'm mentioning it again, that's the link for it, is that it's been updated for the very, very latest version. So it covers the additions and the changes that they've literally just added. So you can get that from takecontrolbooks.com/DEVONthink-3. So make sure you get that while it's still available and still free. I don't know if they intend to charge for it, but it's free at the moment. Right. Are you allowed to park with 2 wheels on the sidewalk? Not really, no. No, you're not. You shouldn't be parking with any part of the vehicle on the pavement area, which, you're saying the sidewalk. No, the sidewalk is for people. That's the idea. But it's become accepted that people do tend to put 2 wheels on it. And nobody really complains too vehemently. But that car it didn't even have any part of the car on the road. It would have been bad enough if they'd left 2 wheels on the road, but very, very close to the edge. But no, the entire thing was on the pavement. I mean, who does that? Literally, who does that? This is a main road. The police veer up and down here all day, every day, because it's the main route to the local hospitals. It's also the main route between... Oh, it's a semi-main route, isn't it, Mike? The A56 is the main route in and out of Manchester, leading down to the south of the country. And the road that photograph was taken on, it runs absolutely parallel with it. But it also hooks into a motorway junction at the end. So it's very easy to come off the motorway and just come up our road. The police are up and down every day. The ambulances are up and down every day. So why nobody has done anything, said anything... Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, Notion. Yes, a big update to Notion. And I know we have a lot of Notion users. Me included. So excited. It's one of the updates they've promised for ages, which is an update to the search functionality. So I thought I'd demonstrate it. This is the biggest thing they've updated with it. So let's have a look in here. Right, this is the system we were building last week. So I'll start from this page. But we know that we've got days and weeks and quarters and months and all kinds of things in there. So I did put more weeks in. I put the entire year in. So we've got all of the weeks in there. But let's pop into it. Let's see how fast it can do it in week 44. This is the information for week 44. And then we'll put, this is how I do it. Make sure that search is working. That's what we'll do. Right, and then get back to the top level. So I've put something in. Let's see how fast it can work. The search in Notion, you can get to it in multiple ways. You have quick find on the left-hand side. And that will bring you up this. It looks like Alfred, doesn't it? It does look like Alfred. Oh, I'm thinking I have a problem with that. That's not good. Okay, my problem is, as I'm looking at that, and this is good. Let's just accept that this is good. They've not rolled out the new search on that domain. That's not brilliant, is it? They have on mine, obviously, because I've tried it, but I'm using a demo account and it's not there. But we'll do the first bit in here and then we'll go into mine. Right, you get to the search using that option, the quick find, and it gives you here recent pages, and it tells you that you can select them and then use Command and Enter to open in a new tab. The other way to get to that, which is really quick but might blow your mind a bit, is Command and P. And you would imagine Command and P may print, but it doesn't. It opens up the search. Now, what you should be able to do is type something in there, and it should find it, which it did. Did I misspell that there? QWERTY. There you go. It found it. It found the first bit there. So search does work. Takes you straight to it. Now, what they've actually added is even more granular than that. But obviously, to be able to see that, we're going to need to go into my account. So let me get into my account. Heaven knows what page we're on. Let's find out. It always opens up the last page you were on. So I'm in projects there. Right, let's go to today's show. There's today's show. Right, so some of the stuff I've got there. I'm trying to... I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll put in it. I will go right down to the bottom. And I will put in it there. We got right down to the bottom. I will put in the code, and hopefully I won't have put that anywhere else. Right. And then I'll go back up and we'll go to, what shall I go to? Week 4, that's what I'll go to. I'll go and search for week 4 before we start. Good evening, Paul. Good to have you with us. So Command and P. I'm not believing this. I'm really not believing this. The search has gone, Mike. Don't you love it when they take it away? I had it and it's gone. Oh no. Right, what we should be looking at is there were options over here. And it was there. I know it was. How am I going to see them? I know what I'll do. Let's try yet again. I'll go into Notion, but my Notion app this time. What's happening here is they're rolling this out bit by bit. And no, it's not in my Notion app either. So I had this search, this updated search, and they've taken it away. So this is going to be a fabulous demo, isn't it? Not. Is it in the desktop app? No, it's not. I've got my desktop app over here. Here's my desktop app. Let's bring it up. Go full screen. Command and P. No, it's missing. It was there the other day. Did I take screenshots? That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? That's shocking.
It says snap.
Yeah, they must have taken it away again. I don't know why. So we might have to postpone that, but I can explain what it did. The idea of it is it's more granular. So over on this side, on the right-hand side, there was a toggle, and you could open up an extra bit. So this extra bit appeared... that one. This extra bit appeared there. And it enabled you to apply a filter to your search. So what you would do with it is you would choose pages made by a certain person within a certain date range. It was fabulous. And now it's disappeared. Okay. The desktop app is just a window that's drilling down into a live system online. So obviously, if they've changed it at that end, there's no way it's going to stay with me because it's just a portal through which I access their system. They must have taken it away for a reason. It was definitely there on my account the other day. I thought...
You showed it to me.
I showed it to you, didn't I? Yeah, and you had it on your account. Is it on your account, Mike? Have a swift look. If it's on Mike's account, that's going to be brilliant.
I'll go find.
You just open it and do Command and P. If it's on yours, I'm going to be incredibly upset because I've got 2 and one as a demo, and it's not on either of them. No, it's all right. Mike's missing it as well. So clearly they've taken it away. But basically, when they bring it back, it's going to be much better than you had before in terms of granularity. Brilliant. What have you missed, Pete? The most fabulous demo of search. Don't tell Pete otherwise. The most amazing demonstration of search. You see the bit on the right, Pete, in red? That's where the search options should be, but they've disappeared. So, I'm struggling a little bit with a live demo of something like that, but we'll pretend it all went fabulously, and we'll look at it again next week or whenever it comes back. I can't say fairer than that, can I? But in the meantime, let's have a look. We should... Did I? I think I did. I think I did. This was what they said they'd done in terms of the update. So that better search there, I can show you, because I took a screenshot, that bit there says add filter. And that would open up the little panel to the right-hand side, and that's where you can filter. But apparently they've taken it away. Oh, yes, Pete missed Bollardgate, didn't he? Bollardgate Part 2. Or is it Part 3? He'll catch up. He won't miss it. Yeah, I've no idea what they've done with that. But that was the number one feature that they've added, as you can see. Better search over here was the number one thing that they added. There is other stuff that they've added that's equally important, I think, which is better shortcuts for Markdown. So you can just use the greater than symbol and it will create a toggle for you, or the quote symbol and it will make a quote. So it just makes working with it a little bit quicker. Also on the right hand side, they've made all of those changes and updates as well. I just don't know why they've taken it away. Having rolled it out, they've now taken it away. Maybe Mike can do a quick search and find out what's going on. Well, it was working for me, or I wouldn't have been demoing it, would I? So I didn't have a problem with it. I would have liked it to be even more granular, but it was working fantastically. But everybody's lost it, so I've no idea what's going on there. And what else was there? Not much else, to be honest. But what they have done is, you see at the bottom where it says, teach yourself a new shortcut today, save time tomorrow. They are actually rolling out their own little videos. They're ever so tiny, you know, minute and a half to sort of 5 minutes, focusing on one individual feature. So if you want to know what a particular feature does, then check out their YouTube account. What's weird about their YouTube account is you can search for Notion and they're nowhere to be seen. So you might have to go to notion.so when you're logged out and get to their help or their homepage and click through from there. Well, that would have been a better demo if they hadn't whipped it off me, but when it's back, I'll show you. Now, hopefully Microsoft won't have whipped off with this one as well. Something new, and it's free, so you've got no excuse. And before you run away screaming, I know it's Microsoft, but brace yourself. It's Microsoft Edge, but for Mac. So it's Microsoft's new browser. They've been going on about it for years. It's been in beta for years. But today, I think it was today, this week certainly, it was released for Mac. So I did the decent thing, the honourable decent thing, and I installed it so you don't have to. And if we go to Edge, Microsoft Edge. Now, when you install it, it comes down in a PKG, a package file. You double click it and just go through a very basic installation process. And then when you open it, the first thing it offers to do, this isn't quite the first page that you see. The first page you see will offer you the opportunity to import everything from a range of browsers. Now, if you choose not to do it at that point, and I chose not to do it until I'd had a look at it, you can go back and do it later. Once you've got through the basics, it then gives you 3 options in terms of how it looks. So this screenshot that we've got here, this big screenshot, that's what they're calling the inspiration look. So basically, it's got a big graphic in the background. I turned that off. I went for informational, I do believe. Which means when you get a new page, it's pretty basic. I didn't want it loading in huge graphics in the background, nor did I want personalised garbage like all of this. Who's interested? I'll try and get rid of that. I definitely told it not to do that, but never mind. Now, the reason that I've bothered with this at all, because normally your problem with Microsoft is it's going to be compatible with absolutely nothing. But it's based on the Chromium project, so it should be completely compatible. It's also very fast, to be honest. So let's load in my site. Let's see how we go. Now, I did mention that I didn't create I didn't import anything. There are no favourites. No favourites at all. I have a bit of a history with browsers. I love my browsers. Can never have too many browsers. So I've actually got Safari, Chrome, Chromium, Chrome Canary, Vivaldi, Edge, what else? Brave. So I must have almost 10 browsers installed. Opera, got Opera as well. I just like having things running in separate browsers or to test things in different browsers. Oh, Firefox, obviously my number one browser, Firefox. But that can give me problems keeping bookmarks in sync. So basically, I don't bother with bookmarks. If I go to a site a lot, I'll create a shortcut for it. Now, Helen is our in-house expert with shortcuts. I've done pretty much, how I've done it is I've used Typinator, but you could use Text Expander or you could use an inbuilt shortcut. It really doesn't matter. But what I've done is I use the section key, which is in the top left-hand corner. Bing's a search engine. Bing is a search engine and Bing is the default search engine, but you can change that. So I use my section key, which is under the escape key in the top left-hand corner on my Mac keyboard. And then wherever I'm going, so let's say I'm going to MacBites, MB for MacBites, press enter and it goes to MacBites. So that's why I don't bother typing the address, and it doesn't matter what browser I'm in, that shortcut is universal. So I tend not to bother with browsers per se. You know, I'll add these favourites and I'll move them over there. I just make shortcuts and then I can use them anywhere. If I want to put the MacBites URL anywhere, I can use it. And that's how I actually do it. So for my own site, section key, EG, and it heads off to my site. So even though I've not actually transferred anything, I can still get to all my favourite sites. And that is pretty fast. It is pretty fast. I will say the odds are it's got a little bit of a speed advantage at the moment because I have installed absolutely no extensions. You should be able to install all the Chrome extensions. But when I went to the store, I couldn't actually see an install button. So I thought, leave it alone and take the MacBiters through the basics of it. So this was what I was faced with when I started. So the first thing it's asking is, do you want to set it as your default browser? Well, you must be kidding. So no, go away with that. Not at all. No. Now, you can also get Edge for Windows, but also Android and iOS. So you could go download it on the App Store or get it on Google Play if you wanted. Which I presume is what that's going to do up there. Oh, get a download link. Give us your phone number. So not happening, Microsoft. Away we go. Right, then you've got this welcome. So it's going to take you through basically every browser on the planet. Tells you that they care about your privacy and they care about performance and it's all about productivity. So it's all the usual stuff. Here we go. Very pretty, isn't it? All productivity and stuff. But I thought, first thing is, if it doesn't work the way that you want it to work, you're not going to be happy. So if I go to a new tab, first thing, I've not done anything with this so far. So we all search for yourself, don't you? So I'll search for myself. It does find me. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Those people, they're not me. No, they're not me. There's my YouTube stuff. There's me on Facebook. Who knew? LinkedIn. Oh, join me live. Yes. And there's the Portsmouth message board. The former ticket office manager I was explaining. 30 years she worked there. Right, so yes, there's all the stuff. But the thing is, that's not Google. That's Bing, which is what this is over here. The results should be fairly similar, I would say. They're not going to be that much different. But you might want all your searches together in Google, in which case you're going to need to change that. The biggest thing that I need to change is this. Command and Q. And it said, hold Command and Q to quit the browser. So hold Command and Q and it kind of fades away. That drives me insane. That drives me insane. So let's get back into Edge and fix some stuff. The first thing that I have already fixed, you'll notice what I had open is still open. So that was something else that I did change. So I think I went into preferences. I do recall this. And what I changed first was on startup. And by default, it's going to give you a new open tab, which is why they're stopping you trying to quit it. Because if the default is give me a new tab, you're going to lose everything you've been working on. So they're trying to save you from yourself. But the first thing I did was I always want to continue where I left off. But I would like to get rid of the quit thing, and I don't know where it is. So you can search the settings. And what have we got under quit? Cookies. No, I doubt it's in there. That's helpful. Not. Anybody see it? No, not seeing it. There should be an option because there is in Chrome. So there'll be a way to do it. Just need to find out. Now, when it says your profile, it's picked up my name, probably from my login. I didn't type it. It probably picked it up from my account on my Mac. But when it says sign in, what's it asking you to sign into? Well, it's actually asking you to sign into your Microsoft account, which I haven't yet done. If you do, then you get to synchronize stuff. Now, I didn't import my browser data, but if I wanted to, that's the option. You can choose where it comes from. So you're not just importing from Chrome. It could be Firefox or it could be Safari. Now, those are the only ones it picks up automatically. Or you can bring in your bookmarks HTML file if you happen to have one. Then it wants to know a profile. Well, it has already created me a profile, despite the fact I haven't logged in anywhere. So it's going to save them to that profile. And then you choose what to import. So favourites or bookmarks, saved passwords. Now, saved passwords does give you a warning. And it's because if you previously saved a password in Firefox and you've changed the password since the last time you logged in Firefox, maybe you've changed it in Edge, if you synchronise that, it will overwrite the new one with the old one. And if they're the only place you've got your passwords, that's not going to be great. I never save a password to a browser. That way, madness lies. I use 1Password. But there's also, what are the other ones? Is it Dashlane? Dashlane's one. And there's KeePass, something like that. There are others. It's not just 1Password, but 1Password is amazing, and I've used it for years and years. So I don't save passwords. There is an advantage to saving passwords in your browser, though, if it's the browser that you use on iOS, because then it won't prompt you for a password. But now iPhones, particularly, and Androids, have got Touch ID or Face ID. You don't really have to sit and type in your password to get into your password manager. So I still don't bother. So I definitely wouldn't want any of that happening. Addresses are addresses that you've visited. And if you've got any payment information saved, it'll bring that over. This is scary, isn't it? The fact that it could do that when you click that dangerous little button there is quite alarming. It can bring your browsing history, all your settings, and even your open tabs. It was the passwords that freaked me out. As I say, I wouldn't particularly do that. But if you wanted to, you could. And that's where you would do it from. Right, let's have a look. I need to get to this. I need to turn off that darn thing, but I'll find it somewhere. It won't beat me. Right, you've got tracking prevention, which Firefox does automatically, and this is turned on automatically, but it goes for balanced. So really, you're trusting Microsoft. Who would? But I would definitely leave something turned on. Maybe go for strict. Really, just a matter of working through all of the options and seeing what suits you best. So, on to appearance. You've got a little bit of options, but not much, to be honest. And I must admit, this looks fairly bland at the moment. So it's got the favourites button showing, which is the one up here. Now, as I said, I haven't got any favourites at all. So one option for me would be to save a bit of space and turn that off. There's a feedback button that you can toggle on. Not going to want that either. And a home button. And to be honest, we all used to have a home page, but I don't bother with that either. And you can change things so it always displays at a certain percentage. And various other options. So we're on a system default, but you can change that if you want. Now it looks more like Firefox. Firefox, there's my Firefox. So it now looks more like Firefox. What does that do to the sites? Nothing alarming. Nothing alarming, so I could leave that set on. But I'll leave it set to default so it looks like yours would look when you install it. We've looked at the on startup, which I leave it to where I've left off. That's particularly handy. If it crashes, it should go back to where you were. Then you change your new page. Now, this was the thing it asked about first of all. And these were your options. Focused, inspirational, because there's a graphic on it, or informational. And I didn't want all of that. No, definitely not. It's just dangerous, to be honest. Or you can customize it. And choose what you want and what you don't want. So content visible, blah, blah, blah. I don't want all the news stuff at the bottom. I don't like things that move. Don't move. Focus, done. Leave it to me. So focused or informational. Yeah, I think I went for focused because I don't want the stuff at the bottom. This bit builds up as you go. So obviously these, Microsoft put the Office one in. I have been to these two sites, so they then appear. I still don't like all of this stuff here. And interestingly, they've picked up Northwest News, so they know where I am. Interesting. I'm not clicking that. Heaven knows what's gone on. And this search here is going to search Bing, unless we change it. So let's get back to our settings. Where are our settings? In here. Then you've got permissions for sites. So every time a site wants to use pop-ups or ads, this is where the permissions are that you control it with. And your downloads. So you can be prompted to save to a particular location, or you can have it changed to a default to a default location, which is the same default location that every other browser on the planet uses. You can control the languages, and it will offer to translate if it's in a language that they think you don't read. But if you do, then you can toggle that off. Printers was interesting. I'm assuming they mean cloud printers, but who knows? Because it says absolutely nothing. I suppose I could click the button. Manage printers. Oh, it only means go to the system preferences, which that's my printer, but it's not worked well since the old king was on the throne. It's saying the toner's low. The toner's brand new. So it and me, not really talking to each other. It will print when it feels like it. Right, the system's set to use hardware acceleration. You can open the proxy settings from here. There's an option to reset the settings, won't be doing that. And then there's an about. Now you can see in here it's saying 79, and this browser is made possible by the Chromium project, so it really is the Chrome engine that's underneath it. That should solve any problems with compatibility. So all in all, worth trying? Well, I can never ever have too many browsers, so I downloaded it and gave it a go. Another thing that I can use it for, we just talked about the Notion app. This is the Notion Mac app. The annoyance with it for me is I can have two pages, so I can go to File, New Window, but I can't say New Tab. I've tried to get round that by having favourites and stuff listed over here, which means instead of going to a different tab, but if I do want two open at the same time, I'm never going to want two windows. So you could allocate one of your browsers, so Edge, Chrome, Chromium, Canary, whichever, to a specific online service and then have multiple tabs open within there. I'm assuming I should be able to pin as well, so I can pin tabs. So if I always have specific tabs open, I can pin them at the beginning of the tab list and do that. Now, I didn't log in with the account, which is also up here as well, so I can browse as a guest or add a profile, etc. And that looks exactly like Chrome. That's just basically Chrome. Seriously, that's Chrome. What was the other thing I was going to show you? You've got two ways to get the extensions. You can search in here. Now, I was trying to find 1Password. So if I search for 1Password in there, it says no results, but you can visit the Microsoft Store to install the extensions, which is like, fine. And there's 1Password. So there it is. So I could get it from there. If you don't want to get it from there, you should be able to install extensions from the Chrome App Store as well. As I said, I haven't put any on there yet, so Mike will make a note for me to do that this week and then report back how it went. 1Password X, and it is X, it's not 1Password 10, it's 1Password X, runs in a browser, so it hooks into an account with 1Password, which means this could even be somebody else's computer that I can just log into and then log out of my 1Password account, which I do believe is what Mike does at work. Yeah, I'm sort of getting a nod on that. Yes, I'm getting a nod on that. Right, so that was Microsoft Edge. Who's going to give it a go? Who is going to give it a go? I'll come out of that. Oh, I need to hold Command and Q. Never sorted that out, did I? Don't like that. You can disable that in Chrome, so I think it's just a matter of finding it. From memory, I think I might have needed to use a Chrome flag. If you're wondering what a Chrome flag is, it's like the equivalent of the terminal. It's where there's no interface, but you can tweak the settings. So who's going to give it a go? Let me know if you're going to give it a go. Who will risk installing that? Anyway, this is the one that I've had 3 questions about. And one of them was from Mike. Right, Ulysses is a text editor. It's a fantastic editor. It's brilliant. It's a subscription-based model, but before you run away screaming, I've noticed Jonathan's gone quite quiet. Do you think he's still awake? I'm going to say the magic words. This will wake him up. It's part of the Setup service, which means you would not have to pay for Ulysses, a subscription. You would be able to access it via your setup. Yeah, that'll wake him up. Graham, probably not yet. Well, if you needed another browser, it's an option, isn't it? Right, so Ulysses is a text editor, but it can do so much more than that. But one problem with it was that I was particularly having was if you want to share something, you've got a problem. Because Ulysses backs its data, that what underpins Ulysses is iCloud. And iCloud is inherently personal. iCloud was never built with sharing in mind, unfortunately. So the problem with that is, if I write something and I want Mike to approve it, how do I get it to him? Because if I copy it out of Ulysses and he makes changes to it, it's messy. It's messy and I don't want it to be messy. Right, got a question. What is Setup? Setup is a subscription-based service itself of $9.99 a month. And Mike's just put the link in. It gives you a whole range of applications for the Mac platform. You never actually own them. You can activate them on 2 machines, I believe. So it is a subscription service, but it's becoming more of an option the more apps that they add, particularly for apps that maybe you don't use that often, but you use it twice a year. Or things like this, which is the Ulysses subscription, the price of which is £38 a year. So you wouldn't have to pay that. So that would come off I think is it 108? Because there's a discount. It's not actually 110 for the year. It's about 10 a month, but there's a discount for the year, but it's not much. So if we called it 120,
$9 a month.
I know, but I thought there was a discount if you paid for the year in advance.
Yeah, that's the annual.
$8.99, isn't it? $8.99 a month per month if you pay for the entire year in hand. Which means that's 12 times 9, isn't it? Which is 108, like I said. Right. But you could knock off that straight away if you wanted Ulysses, the $39 to $40 that is. So it probably would be cost effective, but you would need to consider, particularly if the app that you're looking at has got a subscription, which this one has. It may or may not be, but Jonathan's clearly nodded off. Or Jonathan would be incredibly excited to share everything set up with you because he absolutely adores it. He's going to be really peeved when he wakes up and watches on replay and realises he missed his chance. Anyway, it synchronises via iCloud. And as Tracy says, iCloud syncing is buggy. Data loss, give me Dropbox. Well, that's the issue. I've always found Ulysses was the app that made me believe that iCloud does actually work. Because every app I'd tried was exactly as Tracy said. It was appalling. But Ulysses has only ever had one issue, I think, one day. But the thing is, if you don't like iCloud, you don't trust iCloud, or you're at work and you can't use iCloud, then you've got a problem. So obviously what you would be thinking to yourself is maybe I could use Dropbox. Now, if I could store my Ulysses data in Dropbox, then surely I could share it with Mike and he could proofread it and correct it. And then when I opened it, the corrections would be there. Although that would be lovely, wouldn't it? Didn't do it. Then they promised to add it. So as well as iCloud, you would be able to have data in Dropbox or any other cloud service that supported it, basically. They brought out a beta last September that contained this feature. But the problem with it was it was fine if what you wanted to share was Markdown. But if you wanted to share a full Ulysses document, it wasn't working properly. So I left it alone. When the final version came out, so at this stage it went to a final release, brilliant. It worked. And that's what I'm going to show you. So let's go off and have a look at that. So this is Ulysses. Let's go full screen with that. Right, I have that. I'm so glad I renamed that top level group, Mike. Mike and I were playing around making sure this shared and everything, and I won't tell you what I called it, but it wasn't safe for work. Anyway, I fixed it. So this is my iCloud up here, and you can hide your iCloud. You can hide your external folders. In fact, you can go even better than that. In your library in here, you have 4 options. You can show the introduction, which is some instructions. So it will actually talk you through everything that Ulysses can do, and what Markdown XL is, which is a special version of Markdown that extends it. And there's all kinds of details in there. But once you've done it, you take the tick out of the box and that disappears. You don't need to use iCloud. You could have it on my Mac, but the problem with doing that is you wouldn't then have access to it on your mobile devices. So what you really want is the best of both worlds, and that's where this comes in at the bottom. Now it says arbitrary content on your Mac, for example folders from Dropbox, Google Drive or the desktop. Which seems interesting, your desktop, given that you've got on my Mac as well. But that's the key to it. So the first thing to do is to put a tick in that box. So into the preferences and put a tick in external folders. What that will then give you is your top level iCloud and external folders. So let's show those. Now in your iCloud library, you can create groups and subgroups. So if we look at the MacBites one, there is a group for MacBites. We open that. There's the actual content that lives in a folder. If it's work in progress, it lives in that folder. But all of these that are underneath with little tags next to them are saved searches. So everything lives in the content in there, all of this, but it's filtered down in here to show notes, to after hours posts, to blog posts, or MacBites lives, or social media. So that's a good one to show, isn't it? Oh, right, somebody needs to get to work. That's the last one we posted. Right, so basically what you have inside Ulysses is a piece of content. That content lives in the content folder. But I filtered it just for after hours. So how did I filter it? And if I double click on there, you can see I've given it a name, and it's where the keywords match MacBites after hours, and it's not a template. So that's what we're looking at. Anything that's tagged MacBites after hours that's not a template, because the templates are at the top. Right, now, this is why it's difficult to share, because this in here is just text-based content written in Markdown. That's it. That would be really easy to share. I could just copy and paste it into a text editor. And technically speaking, it would come back in and it would be okay. Where it gets very difficult to share it is the extras. So when I showed you that and I said, no, it was the intro, wasn't it? In the introduction, one of the things was Markdown XL. And it's that allows this to extend the Markdown. Let's get rid of that. Don't want to see it. You can have keywords, you can add a note, and you can add images. In fact, you can have multiple keywords, multiple notes, and multiple images. But the problem is, to be able to use any other cloud service, they didn't go with it, which was a nightmare. So what I would have to have done to be able to get this to Mike was drag and drop it out of here into an external folder. And it would warn me and say you're going to lose the keywords, the notes and the images. Now you might say, well, they're just niceties anyway, aren't they? The content's the bit in the middle. They are niceties if I was leaving this in here. But I'm not. I'm actually publishing this out to the website. So that bit that we're looking at there has already been published. You can see that because it's got a publish tag on it. I will show you that post. So let's go and have a look at that. That was MacBites. And it's under After Hours. And it's next week's show. Which is better not click play, or although the internet will explode. That one. So when it's published, that's what it looks like. Now, what you're looking at there is the big bit of content. So everything from there up. Come on, scroll up. Oh, well, don't scroll up then. It's everything from the red link all the way back to that character there. That's the first line. And that is coming from Ulysses. But this image here is the featured image. And the featured image automatically got published because it was in there on the right hand side. So that's my featured image, and that's where it came from. Right. For this to appear in the right place, i.e. in the After Hours section up here, all of these posts at the bottom, all of these, for me to publish something and, say 61, and for 61 to appear in the right place, it needs metadata. And the metadata is the keywords. So the word MacBites and MacBites After Hours, if I was to click publish on that, and we clicked publish, it would come through as a category of MacBites After Hours and a tag of MacBites. It's that there that means when I've published it, it automatically gets put on the site in the right place. And I don't have to do a thing. And that there, the category, is coming from the keyword up there. So it's incredibly important that this information on the right does not go missing. In fact, if we go back into there, the other bit is the excerpt there. And that is the note. Now, where do we see that? We see that there. That's the excerpt. So the beauty of Ulysses in the way we use it is that once I've put in the keywords, the note and the image, and hit publish, I don't need to do anything else. That's it. It's done. If you're wondering where the video is in here, it's that code block. So it says, I'm a video container. Show me that video. And then underneath it, why did I call it that? W-O-Y-T. Watch on YouTube. That will put the link in and it'll make it red. So that class important there, span class important, will make that text, which is the link, bright red if you want to watch it on YouTube. So that's where the video comes from. We do not have to touch this at all. We've made it work for us. Now, Tracy's saying she hates the way Ulysses is the proprietary markdown because it doesn't render properly for her content. It may well not. It is a very proprietary way of working. We tweaked a bit how we worked so we could get it to work with this. Prior to using Ulysses, you'd have to have gone up onto the website and actually published it yourself, actually written it, and it's all too much work. So for what we want, it does work well. But where we hit a brick wall is if I've written something in here, and it could be a blog post of my own, it could be course, it could be anything. But let's just say it's this particular post. In fact, I'll make another one. That's what I'll do. It'll be very exciting. I'll make one for 61. And I then want to get that to Mike for him to check it. How do I do that? Because that's saved on iCloud. You can see that because it's in the iCloud section. And how I used to do it, you'll laugh. Talk about first world problems. I would pick up a spare iPad. Yes, I have spare iPads. And I would give it to him because it's logged into my account. And I'd say, can you check that in Ulysses? He would make the changes required in there and then just hand me the iPad back. Obviously, for most people, that's not an option. So what we're looking for is the reason that you would use an external folder and what you can do with it. So what we do with it is use it for proofreading, really. So if I open up that Ulysses folder there, you can see I have one called proofreading. And what was in it was a test for 60 to make sure it worked. So there's a test in there already, but we're going to create a new one. Oh, we are. It's going to be so exciting. So I've got some templates. So how I work is this. We have a MacBites After Hours. First thing I will do with that is duplicate it. That will take me up to content. I'm going to go back to templates because that's where it's going to be. Right, so this one was, this is the one that I'm going to be editing anyway, this one. For that to appear in the right place, I need to tell it it's not a template, and I need to make sure I know it's episode 61. So I'll call it 61, take away the template tag, it disappears from templates, and it will appear in After Hours down here. And there it is. And then what I would do is make changes. So, Mike, when is After Hours 61? I've got a sneaking suspicion it's the 8th of February. Yeah, surely it is. Or isn't it? Not sure. Tell me, mate. We've got 131 for 61. Try the calendar. You can't find it. Trust me, it's there. It's there, Mike.
62 is the 8th.
Well, in that case, it must be. Is it the 1st of February? 1st of February, there you go. All right, 1st of February.
This says MacBites After Hours.
No, well, I'm just trying to confuse you, aren't I, Mike, by not putting a number on it. Now, you'll see here, see the time in your time zone. No time zone. I wonder if I did that. MacBites. Let's try MacBites time zone. Would I have done that? No, I'm not. I have a way to do that. Would that I remembered what it was. But anyway, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put 1st February 2020. And then I would put some blurb about it. So some blurb. Then I have to make other changes. What are the other changes? I have to change this down here when I've got the video. Haven't got the video yet. But let's just imagine that that is what I need. And I need Mike to check that. Right, obviously I've already got a folder, but I'm going to create a completely new one. This is where it's going to get very annoying. But it's a good job I'm showing you this, otherwise you'd think it was you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over the external folder and there is a plus button. Hit the plus button and it will let you go and create a new folder. So I'm going up to Dropbox and I'm going to put one in the root in here. So let's make a new folder. And we'll call that After Hours 59, which is today. Right, so there's my folder in Dropbox. And what I want to do is hook it into Ulysses. So I'm just going to hit open. This is usually when things go alarmingly wrong. So let's see if they've gone alarmingly wrong. Oh, they have. Predictably, alarmingly wrong. Right, this has happened to me every time I've created it. So I'm going to take you through what's going on so you can fix it. Right, it's done because it's come up here. But I can't do anything. If I do Command and N, nothing happens. If I try and open my external folders, nothing happens. In fact, I can click anywhere and nothing happens. I can't even click the menu. I'm clicking. Nothing is happening. This has happened so many times. So what I do is I go over to my dock, which unfortunately is on another screen, and I quit it from the dock. If that doesn't work, which it doesn't look like it's going to. So quick aside on how to handle your Mac. I'm going to run an app called Activity Monitor. And that is the Activity Monitor. You can see Wirecast's working overtime, isn't it? You can also see Ulysses is getting pretty giddy as well. So that's why my fans are on, because my CPU is running at 200% of what it can cope with. And Ulysses not behaving itself at all. So what you do is, you hit the cross, once you've selected Ulysses, and it'll say, are you sure you want to force to quit this process? Yes, I do. Go away. Naughty Ulysses. And it does that every time. I don't know whether it's just me. I'm sure it's not. Right, so let's get that one out of the way. So all I've done is close it down. And then all I have done up to now, do not let me down today, is open it up again. And when I do, it's all back and everything's working. You can click on here, click on there. So to do this process, if that happens to you, do not freak out. Open up your activity monitor, force quit Ulysses, go into it, everything's fine. That's simple. But because it crashed, you didn't get an opportunity to tell it what kind of files you wanted to see. That's important. So I'm going to double click on that. Once I've double clicked on it, and I can double click on the other one as well, which we've called Ulysses, right? You can see double clicking on that one, big dialog box, lots of questions. Double clicking on the other one, little dialog box, nothing else. Curious. Why don't you just do a normal force quit? I did try that and I don't think it worked because I tried to quit it before I force quit it. So I just force quit it and make sure it is actually quit. But by double clicking on that folder, you get that information. So it's giving you an icon and it's picked that icon because it's picked up the fact it's Dropbox. And it's saying read and write Markdown files. Use Markdown files instead of Ulysses files. Markdown files don't support all of Ulysses features. Well, that's the problem. That was the problem I had when they first rolled out this feature. Create an extension for new sheets and make that Markdown. Fine. Create reference links and always use fence code blocks. Well, brilliant, but that's not what I want at all. I want to retain everything that's in the note, the document, when I drag and drop it in that folder. And if I do this, it won't work. Here's what would happen. I go up to my after hours. There's my 61. Drag and drop it down there. And it says, can't be used. Some of the sheets you're copying use features not available in this section. You can carry on. There's a proceed button. But if you do, your notes will be lost. But if we just go back and see exactly what I did there, as I'm hovering, you can see there's a plus button. So it shouldn't delete 61 from iCloud. So let's just proceed and see what happens. Right, there's my after hours up there. My graphic's gone. That's not good either. My graphic's already gone. My graphics shouldn't have gone at that stage. Not at that stage, it shouldn't. Let's try it with 60 and do the same again. You're going to take it away from there? No, you're not. So, no idea what's going on there, but never mind. Right, so I've taken 2 of these. That should have a graphic. I have no idea why the graphic has disappeared. But if we go down to this folder now, there are the 2 items that I've copied, and there is the problem. All I'm left with is the keywords. I've lost my notes and I've lost my graphics on both of them. If I drag and drop them back out of here, those elements won't come back. They've actually gone. But remember what it actually said. It kind of implied, let's drag and drop again, not available in this section, meaning that there should be another way. You're quite right, Alex. Just pass the iPad over to Mike. That's why we did it. It was quicker. But once we've set it up, it will work, honestly. I promise. The only benefit to this is if he's at work and I want him to check something and I can't ship him the iPad. But once it's set up, it should be fine. It's just a bit of a mess. But, you know, it's telling you that it's not available in this section. So clearly something somewhere going wrong. Not good. Right. I'm just going to take a quick aside and show you that in Dropbox, let's open up Dropbox. Here's Dropbox. There's the After Hours folder, and there are the 2 files. They are Markdown files. We can look at them, and they have Markdown in them. Lots of lovely Markdown in them. Right. And you can take them out of here and put them somewhere else, or you can delete them from here. Guess what? That's what I'm going to do. In fact, I won't. I'll leave them and see what happens. That'd be interesting. Right, because what I'm going to do is go back into here and show you that I had this proofreading folder. And no, that isn't going to work, is it? There we go. Right. That's got a very simple note. But this one down here had the longer one with all the details in it. What it didn't give you the opportunity to do, because every time you try it crashes, is to just take the tick out of that box. I think this dialog box is one of the worst worded dialog boxes I've ever seen, because it doesn't tell you that by taking the tick out of the box, the folder will, by magic, automatically support everything that Ulysses supports. Why don't you just put that in the dialog box? So take the tick out of the box, and it now says, put the tick in the box if you want to use Markdown. Now, two things happened. One, that will solve our problem. But two, whoa, where did they go? We know we have 2 Markdown files in the folder. They're still there. There they are. But they've disappeared. And that's because it's applied a system level filter and said if it's got a Markdown extension, don't show it. That's all it means. So we'll go back to the after hours and we'll go find the first 2. So there's our 61, which we will take down to there. Why did I put... Oh, yeah, that's what I did. Right, there's 60. So let's put a copy of 60 in. And let's put a copy of 59 in while we're at it. Right. They are copies at this stage. You can move them if you want to. But at this stage, they're copies. But look, we now have the keywords, we have the notes, and we have the images. What does that look like in Dropbox? It looks like that. We now have 5 files. The ones with the ULYZ extension are Ulysses files, which do contain the graphics, hence the file size difference. That they are huge by comparison to the other ones. So Markdown and Ulysses files can happily live together in the folder, but it's that toggle that means that you can see one or the other in the interface. So if I go back in and say read and write Markdown files, the other 2 come back. It's amazing, isn't it? But they don't actually tell you this. So you're pretty much left high and dry as to how this is actually working. But yes, that toggle is your friend. If you want to support everything that Ulysses supports, you need to take the tick out of the box. But what makes it difficult is that Ulysses crashes every single time you hook it up to an external folder. But once you've done it, now it's sorted. So now it's sorted permanently. So what I would do then, in Dropbox, and I think we did this. We definitely did this with one of them. But it's probably in... I'm wondering where that would be, Mike. Surely it would be a resource. Cameras. Would it be in MacBites? No. Could be in settings. Could be... Oh, I know where it might be. It might be in application support. Application support, I might have put it. Oh, look, Ulysses. Right, so that folder in application support is the real folder where we have the test for proofreading. So that's my real folder. And you can see it's got the 3 little people on it, which means in Dropbox, because it's in Dropbox, it's shared. I think I can hit that, can't I? It should tell me. There we go. It's mine, but Mike can edit. So he has access to that, which means in his Ulysses, he goes through exactly the same procedure of, at the bottom here, hitting the plus, adding a folder, pointing to the shared folder in his Dropbox, which is mine that I've shared with him. His Ulysses promptly crashed. Then he went into it, started screaming that he couldn't see the files, like calm down, take a chill pill. I tell him to double click on it to get the dialog box that you should have seen already and to take the tick out of there, and then peace reigns. So in here, in proofreading, Mike can see that, I can see that, it retains all of the information and we can share files. You only have to do that once, which is just as well because, as Alex says, it's a little bit of a pain. But once it's set up, you're sorted. So that is for the people who asked that question. How does that work? Because they've mentioned it, but not actually done much in the way of explaining it particularly. Plus the fact it crashes for me every time I do it. So that was that. So basically, how do you know when to use what? And for that, if you need increased compatibility with other applications, then use Markdown. If you want to be able to have a file, which is in essence a text file, but you want it to be opened in multiple applications, then use Markdown. But if you want keywords, notes, and images, then use the Ulysses format. Simples, isn't it? But I end up having to explain why it's crashing, and I have no idea why it's crashing, but it does it every time. And yes, I've rebooted the Mac and I've done the incantation with it, and it's still crashing. And it's not the beta that I'm running, so I'm sure they're onto it. I don't think it's my Dropbox. I don't think it's anything with me, because it happened with Mike as well. And you could get to the point where you're trying to set this up and think, I'll just give up. Like Alex said, just hand the iPad over, it's quicker. It is, but once it's set up, you're fine. Right, let's go and have a look at some freebies. We got some great freebies this week, courtesy of the Slack room. You know I love Divi. We mention Divi all the time, don't we, Mike? Put the link in. My what's it link for Divi? Well, there was found an entire course this week. This course is available on Udemy, but it's also available completely free of charge on YouTube. So that's the link. There's a code at the top that you can quickly scan. It's almost 3 hours, and it's dedicated to everything you need to know to get the best out of Divi, but not just Divi, the very latest version of Divi, Divi 4. So first thing, a free course. Second thing, another free course. Can you put the link into the training as well, Mike? Which should be there somewhere, I'm sure. You'll find it. Another free course, this one from Envato Tuts Plus, which is how to design a business card. It's 47 minutes. It is about Photoshop, but, you know, principles are principles. And those are the you don't even need an account for that. The play buttons are there even without an account. Now, other freebies that you can download and play with. Lots from fontbundles.net this week. So head off to Font Bundles and you'll see all the freebies. The other things that I've got free are more from Envato. They have put out 3 extras. They're calling them Friday freebies. The first one's music. So I've had to use the graphic because you're not going to hear the music. But it's, and plus the fact if I play it, then we've got all kinds of problems with YouTube. It's called Chinese, and it's kind of Chinesey theme thing. So that is completely free. Now, the usual price of it's about $30, but it's free at the moment. The next one is from another Envato site called Graphic River. So Michael put the links in for these into the chat. If you're watching later, the links will still be in the chat, and we'll try and remember to put them underneath the video as well. Again, these are only free until the 24th of January, but get them. This one is like an Art Deco look, a Great Gatsby look. So it's graphics, those ones, in various colours, etc. So some good freebies this week. Definitely good freebies. I love that style. I love that style. I can think that would look fantastic on a book cover. Obviously, don't put the Great Gatsby. But a book that was set in that era would be good, wouldn't it? Anyway, I'm going to hand over to Mike now. But it's not Excel. No! This one's SQL Pro and Shortcoder. Subtitle: How Mike saved the day when every WordPress site we have broke. It's definitely worth a watch. Have you noticed how much stuff breaks and how long we take explaining how it broke and then fixing it? Right, let me get out of there and make sure that you can A, see Mike's machine, and B, Mike's not totally ready. That's naughty of Mike, isn't it? Well, I'll make sure that you can hear him first before we see him. Heaven knows what's on his computer screen. Right. You say howdy doody, Mike.
Howdy doody.
So hopefully you can hear him. Now do let us know in the chat if you could. Yes, Tracy, that was your find. It was a very, very good course, that, wasn't it? So with that one and the 2 courses that I found before Christmas, are you all divvied out now? Let me know. Do you know everything that there is to know about Divi? Or do you still have questions? Right, so I'm going to turn myself off and leave you in Mike's capable hands. But do let us know if you can hear Mike. Because you know what he's like last week when he hadn't plugged... No, last week he turned the microphone off.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Whatever. Right, I'm ready.
So now you want to see it. Right, hopefully you'll be able to see yourself and hear yourself and everything.
Okay, well, I've just heard myself because I've just heard myself through the test.
So why weren't you ready?
Because I was pasting the stuff into the chat.
Oh, I'll let you off then.
Thank you. Right. Kim can hear me. Right, okay. Let's make a start then. I've decided to do something different today. Not Excel, as Elaine says. I'm going to talk about something that happened to the MacBites website this week. A sort of week at MacBites headquarters event. It's going to be a slide and screenshot based demo. Doing it using the actual apps would have revealed too much information that we don't want out there in the wild. Things like usernames and config details and stuff like that.
Not to mention IP addresses, dear.
Yes, that's another one.
Somebody was hoisted by his own petard.
Yes, we won't go into that one. I may go into that one another week. Anyway, if you go to macbites.co.uk/fm, you will see on there the embedded player that allows you to listen to MacBites FM, our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week radio station. And this is the code that is required to generate that player. So it's a bit of JavaScript code. I've made a couple of changes to hide usernames and things like that, but in essence that is the code that is needed to generate the player. Now suppose I want to embed the same player on another page, let's say the MacBites homepage. What I could do is write the code again from scratch. That's obviously one option, but I don't really want to do that. What I want to do is have that code, because it's the same code, it's exactly the same code. I want to have that code stored somewhere where I can just pick it up and copy and paste it. So one option is obviously store the code in an app of your choice. That could be Notion, it could be Evernote, it could be OneNote, and then just copy and paste it into the WordPress post, WordPress page as needed. So that's one option. The second option would be store the code as a shortcut in something like Text Expander or Typinator, depending which one you use. Third option is use an external code hosting service like GitHub. Now, there are obviously advantages of those methods in that you've got the code stored, it's just stored as text, and you just copy and paste it as and when you need it. Disadvantages, syncing issues. One that comes to mind is OneNote. We have many syncing issues with OneNote, don't we?
Every day.
And you know, if you're on different machines or different devices, then you're not necessarily going to have access to that code when you need it. Typinator, for example, isn't available on iOS or Windows. Text Expander is, Typinator isn't. And here at MacBites headquarters, we prefer Typinator over Text Expander for a number of reasons. So let's say I was working on this on my Surface. I wanted to create a page on my Surface or edit a page on my Surface. I wouldn't have those shortcut blocks of text available. So this is where Shortcoder comes in. Shortcoder is a free plugin for WordPress, and you can get it from wordpress.org/plugins/shortcoder. Now, the thing with plugins is that you're relying on the third-party developers to keep them up to date. This particular plugin is still an active plugin. In fact, it was updated only the other day, and that was the cause of the big problem that I'm going to come on to shortly. But if you wanted to create a shortcode using this plugin, then what you would do is you'd install the plugin as you'd install any other plugin, and that will add a set of options on the left-hand menu when you log into the back end of your WordPress site. So you click on Create Shortcode, you give the shortcode a name, I've just called this one FM Player Demo, and then you either type up the actual content of that shortcode or you copy and paste it into that big box. So in concept, it is like Typinator and Text Expander, but this works inside WordPress and it's specific to a specific site. The benefit is, as I said, if you were creating a page or a post from any device, any computer, then the shortcodes are available to you because they're not device or computer dependent. But once you've set it up, and this isn't adding it to a page or a post, this is actually creating the shortcode. Once you've set it up, you just click on Publish. Now, if you then want to use it, you go into WordPress and you create a new post or a page, or you edit an existing post or a page just using the WordPress editor, and you add in the code SC, which is short for shortcoder, colon, and then the name that you gave to your shortcode. And that goes inside square brackets. So it's straightforward, square brackets, SC colon, name of shortcode, close square brackets. Depending which version of the plugin you've got and depending which version of WordPress you're using, it may actually add a button onto the WordPress editor toolbar, and then you can click the button, choose from a list of the shortcodes that you've set up, and it adds in the SC colon square brackets name of shortcode for you. So it is easier that way, but in essence, that's how you do it. By adding the shortcode to your post, you don't see the actual HTML code in the editor. So it's not like Text Expander. If you think about Text Expander, you type in your shortcut and it then expands it and you see the expanded text in front of you. It doesn't work like that. So you just type the shortcode in, but when the page or the post is rendered in a browser, the shortcode code is substituted with the real HTML code, and then it displays how it should in the browser. It's easy to amend the shortcode. You go into your back end of WordPress, you click on All Shortcodes, you click on the name of the shortcode you want to edit, and that then takes you in to the shortcode content. Go in and make your change. So in this example, what I've done is made a change to the content. I've just added a color into that set of parameters. But it could be any change that you wanted to make. You make the change and you hit save. When any page or post containing that shortcode is loaded into the browser, it displays per the updated code. So what I've done is I've edited my shortcode. I've added this color equals red. And that way, whenever I open the MacBites FM page, whenever I open the MacBites homepage, because those two pages have got the shortcode in them, it then goes to the shortcode, looks at the actual content, and generates a page based on that content. So it means if you want to make changes, it's really, really straightforward to do so. This particular content is to display the player, which we're using the JW player. It's just a media player, but we might decide that we wanted to use a different player. So all we need to do is go and edit the shortcode, FM player demo, edit the actual content, and then it will update all the pages. It's a real time saver. One of the big benefits of this shortcoder is that it supports what are called variables. So it's something that you can't do with Text Expander and OneNote and Evernote and stuff like that. So this is a screenshot of the latest show notes page from the MacBites website. And at the top of every page, we have this block. And the block just says, listen to this episode via iTunes, M4A, MP3, and the player. And the M4A is a link to the M4A version of that show. The MP3 is a link to the MP3 version of that show, and the actual files are hosted on Amazon on S3. And then the player allows you to play that particular show. So let's have a look at the code, the syntax for that. So we've got listen to this episode as a heading 3, and then we've got a bulleted list. And you'll see in that bulleted list that I've got %% show %%. That is how you create a variable. So this code here that you're actually looking at, this is the code not that goes in the actual post, but this is the code that goes in the shortcoder. This is the expanded version of the shortcode, but it's using variables, one variable actually. So if you want to use a variable, you have a word. That word can be anything, obviously make it logical, and it has 2% signs at the beginning, 2% signs at the end. So as you can see, what we're doing is we are using a variable called show to represent the actual file name, the MP4 file, M4A file name, and the MP3 file name. And we have that twice. We have that for the M4A link, the MP3 link, and it's the MP3 version that gets played in the JW player. What you then do, if you want to use that in your post in WordPress, is you go and insert the shortcode into your post, and it's very similar to what it was before, square bracket, SC : name of the shortcode. So I've used the real shortcode name here rather than FM demo. But then you have the parameter show equals MacBites 0123. So what it does is it takes the MacBites 0123 and it substitutes it where I've put the variable parameters in the red. And that means that we can have one set of code that we can then push a variable value into each time. So on the 123 episode, we will have code that says SC episode audio player show equals MacBites 123. On the post for 122, we'll have SC episode audio player show equals MacBites 122, etc. Where the MacBites 123, MacBites 122, etc. is the actual file name of the MP3 and M4A. Now, last week, Elaine discovered a problem, didn't you, dear?
When I updated.
Yeah. Was I out at the time?
Yes.
Yes, I thought I was out at the time. And I got this Slack message or email or text message or something that said, I think I've broken the MacBites website.
No, I said I think it's broke.
Anyway, she went into an episode, probably 123, but it could have been any of them. And instead of seeing the player, what she saw was exactly what you can see there. So it had pulled through the actual shortcoder code. And you did say it was likely to be to do with the fact that the shortcoder plugin had recently been updated, only in the last couple of days, I think.
I knew what I'd done.
You just didn't know. Well, you did know how to fix it.
I did, but I left it to you.
Yeah. Now, I did a little bit of, I was going to say Googling, but what I did is I went to the shortcoder site. I went to the site of the developer who built this tool. And what he's done on this latest version is he's changed the syntax. So now instead of SC : name of shortcode, it's SC name equals and the name of the shortcode, where you can also see the name of the shortcode is in double quotes. And we had 123 posts that needed updating. We'd have to go through every single one of those posts and manually change the syntax. And that is where, bear with me, that is where SQL Pro comes to the rescue. SQL Pro is a free app, so it's not a plugin for WordPress. Nothing to do with WordPress. Well, it is to do with WordPress, but it's not a WordPress plugin. It's an app for Mac. It's free. You can get it from sequelpro.com. And what it allows you to do is hook in to MySQL databases. Now, we've talked about MySQL before, but just a brief recap. WordPress stores all its information in a MySQL database. So when you set up WordPress on a web server, part of that setup process is to set up a MySQL database. So you have one MySQL database for each website. We've got about, 20 websites altogether? So we've got 20 odd MySQL databases to look after. Or should I say I've got 20 MySQL databases to look after. So the database lives on a server at your hosting company. And in that database, there are lots of tables, as you would expect in any database. So one table is for the posts, one table is for the users, another table is for your categories, another table is for your settings, and many, many more. Now, you might be wondering why you'd use SQL Pro. Because, if you needed to create a post, wouldn't you just either log into the back end of WordPress or use something like Ulysses, as Elaine showed you in the last demo, or Mars Edit or something like that? Well, there are things that you can't do in the back end of WordPress. When we create a WordPress site, we create users. And for security purposes, those users tend to just be named with random strings of letters and numbers. And if you wanted a list of all the posts by a particular author, you would go to, for example, macbites.co.uk/author/username. But let's say the underlying username for the MacBites crew is ABC123XYZ. Wouldn't it be nicer to have a URL that said macbites.co.uk/author/the MacBites crew? To be able to do that, you have to edit the nice name property. So basically in this table, in the users table, you have a column or field called nice name, and you need to edit that. So for the user ABC123XYZ, you'd go and type the MacBites crew into the nice name field for that record. And that would then allow you to use that second URL if you wanted a list on the website of all the posts by a particular author. There's no way to do that from WordPress. So you need to go directly into the underlying database to do that. And that's one of the reasons for using SQL Pro. Here's a screenshot of the posts table from the MacBites database. This is what it looks like from SQL Pro. So to configure SQL Pro, first of all, download and install it. As I said, it's free. Then you create a connection to the database. So you need to know the database name, the username, and the password. And then you need to find your public-facing IP address. And you can get that by going to whatsmyip.org. Once you've done that, log into your hosting company's control panel and find and run the remote MySQL app and add your IP address as an access host. Now, why do you have to do all that? Well, you can't connect, for security purposes, you can't connect to a MySQL database using an app like SQL Pro unless on the server you have allowed that IP address to be used. So you need to find out your IP address, from your home or your office, wherever you're doing this from, and then set up through remote MySQL to make sure that that IP address is allowed to connect to the database. Otherwise, when you try and connect to the database from SQL Pro, it'll come up and say access denied. I had great fun the other week when I was staying at my parents'. Their internet isn't great. Their internet speed's not great. So what I was doing is I was tethering my Surface. I wasn't using SQL Pro, obviously, because it's a Mac app, but there are Windows equivalents. But you still have to go through the same process. It doesn't matter what client you're using. You still have to give it permission to connect to that database through the IP address. So I was using my hotspot on my iPhone to connect my Surface. And the 4G signal wasn't great. So I had to keep turning off the tethering and turning it back on again. And in doing that, a new IP address was generated. So I had to continually log in to my hosting company's control panel and use a different IP address. Anyway, once you've done that, we'll come on to how I fixed the problem. I ran SQL Pro. I launched the connection to the database. And once I was in SQL Pro, with that database selected, I exported the posts database, and that generates a .sql file which can be opened in a text editor. I then used find and replace, saved the changes, and imported the updated SQL file back to the database using SQL Pro. So once we knew what the problem was, it was actually a relatively easy fix. Okay, that's it from me. Let me have a look at the questions.
I've tried to answer.
Okay. I'm sure you'd rather be playing with Divi. Fair enough. Yes, I think I'd rather be playing with Divi than SQL Pro.
No, the questions are down past Pete's bit where Pete's gone to bed.
Oh, Pete's gone to bed. Okay. Right. We use...
Basically about the IP addresses.
Oh, the IP addresses. No, you don't need a dedicated IP address. It would be better if you did have, because then you wouldn't have to continually change it. I think that's the only one, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. I will pass back to you.
Right, I'm back. Whee! Okay, let's grab my screen back as well. Because it's possibly the most exciting part of the night where homework will be checked. Oh, yes.
Oh, I thought you meant unboxing.
No. Notion's more exciting than unboxing, or it can be. Yes, last week we started part 1 of Notion 2020, Planning 2020, with Notion. So quick recap of where we left it, because we'll be picking it up straight from there. So we built a core system. We built half of the core system anyway. We built the time tracking aspect, which involved 5 databases, one for the days, weeks, months, quarters and years, so one each, and then allocated pretty icons to them, so we knew which were which. Then we discussed linking the tables together, and we said it can be as complicated as you like, or as simple as you like. I haven't put all of those in on mine. It didn't make sense to me to have the days linked to the years, because I can get from each individual day to the year. And if I want to drill down from the year, I would probably drill down through month or week to the day. Right, so that's where we were at. But we weren't leaving the system there. We're going to extend it. So tonight is the second half, or at least the start of it, of the second half of the core system. This time we're adding projects and tasks to the system. At a minimum, that's going to take 3 databases, but it could take more. At a minimum, you're going to need projects and then tasks or actions, depending on what you call them, and probably areas. And how you would choose to use areas in relation to projects is up to you. I will show you a couple of ways. I will show you how I do it. To me, areas are similar to projects, but very distinct from them. But other people like to have projects living in inside areas. So they may have an area for home and one for work, and they want to allocate the projects to a home project or a work project. Either way is fine. Either way, you're going to need the table. What would be in the table in terms of fields would change depending on how you're using it, but you're still going to need the table. Once we've got all of those, they're going to need to be hooked up to the core system that we built last week. So that's where we're at. Exciting, isn't it? I wonder if the search is back yet. That was good, wasn't it? Right, no, we don't want to go into Notion. No, we don't want to go into Notion. I'm going over here. Right. This was where we were last week. Couple of changes, but only in terms of, nothing you couldn't do yourself. One thing I did was go and put more weeks in it. In fact, I got carried away with myself and I thought, right, let's put 2 years worth in. Then I decided that was a really bad idea because I'm working with a free account. So there's nothing else in this account that could confuse anything, right? I'm working with a free account. Because of that, if I click on that at the top, settings and members, you can see I've already used 32% of my block limit because I've added all of those weeks. And I've also got stuff that we've worked on previously in previous demos. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. It's just purely the amount of information that I've put in. But we'd built the years, we'd built the quarters, we built the months, we built the weeks, and we built the days. We even went into things like the weeks. So we're currently in week 3. And if I open up week 3, I've got links, I've got the date range for week 3, and I've even got the individual days that I could click through to. So today is the 17th and I could go through to the 17th and I could put today is MacBites After Hours Day. MacBites After Hours 59. So you're on a day, you've made yourself a note. Right, so that's where we were. What we now need to do is look at the productivity side of the system that we're building. Now you can see I've got more than 3 tables. I've got the projects that we talked about, I've got the areas of focus that we talked about, and I've got the tasks. And tasks could be actions, and there's a reason for that. Okay, so tasks or actions, depending on what you call them. But I've also put in clients. Now, maybe you don't need clients. If you don't have external clients, don't need to do that. We do have external clients, but even if a project is for us, we would allocate a client, in massive air quotes, to it. So if it's something that I'm doing for me and it's just for me, I will probably put in-house. But we have MacBites down as a client, and we have other brands that we work on that are ours that we would put down as a client. The reason we bother to do that will become clear when you see it in action. So we're going to need, I think, at least 4. But you could get away with 2 here if you didn't want to track clients and you weren't bothered about areas of focus. Oh, Graham, that sounds nice. Do you want to make me some tea as well? Hope you're feeling much, much, much better and you enjoy catch-up. You did make me some tea because I only have 1 cup of tea a week. Other than that, I drink nothing but water. I'm very boring. I'm going to a wine tasting, though. I'm giving my wine away. I'm popular at wine tastings. I'm even more popular at gin tastings. Right, so first of all, we need to create the tables, but that may be 2, it may be 4. Maybe you need more, but definitely projects and tasks or actions. So let's move that one up there because that's definitely going. Those 2 definitely. Areas of focus are just, the way I look at it, areas of focus look remarkably like projects, but they never end. So MacBites wouldn't be a project, it's an area of focus. But as I said, another use for an area of focus is home or work. So I'm going to start by building the projects. That makes the most sense. Now, we've done this before, but I will remind you what I am doing. Each item in Notion is a block. So as I move through each of these is a block. Each bullet point is a block. And you can change the block type with Command and Option, 1 for a heading 1, 2 for a heading 2, 3 for a 3, 4 for a to-do, 5 for a bullet point, 6 for a bulleted list, 7 for a toggle, 8 for a code block, and 9 for a page. And the way I'm going to build this, I'm going to turn it into a page first. So now projects is a page, and I drill down into it. The first thing I always do is make the page full width, not wasting space. Then go into it and create an inline table. So inline table. This is exactly the same as we did last week with all of the others. The only difference this time is the fields that you will need for this. So this is projects, and it's offered you the same 3 it always does: name, tags, files. You can keep those, get rid of them, doesn't make a difference. But we're definitely going to need more fields in here than that. So let's think of a project that we're going to work on. So one of the projects that I'm going to work on is the Munich 58 program or brochure. What should we call it? Program or brochure?
Brochure.
Brochure. Okay. Brochure. Mike prefers brochure, so brochure it is. Right, so that's a project that I've got coming up. Graham's getting lots of sympathy now. Poor Graham, poor Graham. We had that over Christmas on top of everything else. Right, so there's 2 ways to add extra fields. One would be to sit in here and add them. There's a plus button at the end. So shout out in the chat, what sort of fields do you think I would need in projects? What do I need? Now, you may be doing this from a perspective of you've used OmniFocus or Things or any other task management app. But remember, we're talking about projects. What metadata do projects need that may be different than tasks? Because this is projects that we're talking about. So shout them out. I'll start us off with a project. By definition, in my world, to differentiate it from an area, needs a due date. So I'll add in a new column and I'll put there due date. Change the type to date, and I'll change the format to something that I understand. So not the American one. I'll go for day, month, year. So yes, Kim, bang on, due date. So we've got a due date in there. That's probably so important, it would be the first element for me, so I would drag it back over here as well. So let's say that brochure. Now the due date for that brochure is next Tuesday. Somebody needs to get a wiggle on. Right, so I've got a due date set up, put in there. Oh, this will be so good when it pulls together. All right, anything else? Anything else? Now, one of the things I do, you'll never guess in a million years. So I'll talk about that while you have a think about what would be relevant to you. But one of the things I like to put in is a cover image. You're wondering why I would bother. All will be revealed. But what I would do is put a files and media tag in there, and I would put images in there. So I'll probably take that up past the tags. The reason that I bother with that is it's fantastic to see your projects in a really nice view in a gallery. And it works brilliantly if you've got covers that you can add. Luckily for me, I do have a cover that I can add. And I did call it brochure, Mike. Right, I'm going to drag my image and I'm going to drop it inside the field that says cover. So that's going to upload that image up to Notion, and now I've got a cover. So we've got no more takers with any more guesses or ideas. And some of these we're not going to be able to put in at the moment, but we will do shortly. But some of the ones we can put in would be a status. What is the status, the current status of the project? Now at this stage, oh, Tracy, bang on. We were symbiotic there because I'm 30 seconds ahead of you. Yeah, progress, basically to know where you're at with the project. And there's a lot of different ways of doing this, but the first thing to think about is at this stage, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it's starting to look squashed. Obviously, my screen resolution is very small, but even so, it's starting to look squashed. So another way to work with it is to open it up. And when you open it up, you can still add properties, but you can focus on it. Even better than that, you could open it up as a page if you want and really focus on it. So I'm going to add another property. So we've got status. Let's put status in. Now, status is probably best if you pick from a list. So let's have a select for the status. Now, the status is going to probably be not started. You probably have work in progress. So let's put in progress. These are the ones I tend to use. You could have complete. It would just depend. I tend to make these traffic light colours as well. I go for green, and then in progress tends to be an orange or a yellow, and not started tends to be red. But can you get away with that? Or should there be any others? Now, this is where you need to think about what you want. What would make sense for you? I instantly thought, if I mark them as just one of the three, that's going to cause me problems down the line. Because what if I want to archive a project and I don't want to see it again? I don't want to be constantly bombarded, from projects with 5 years ago. So I thought, right, what if I had archived as a status? That would be a good idea. Don't want it the same colour as the other one though. So if it's archived, I'd probably make it like a sort of grey colour. The other status that I would tend to put, now you may get away with not started. That might be good enough for you. I'm just checking what I called mine. Because the other type of situation would be where you've got a project that you know is coming up. So, for instance, if you look at this brochure thing here, I've called it Munich brochure, but actually it's the brochure for 2020. But by March, I'll be thinking about the brochure for 2021. So I may have a project that I am well aware that will be coming up. And if it comes up, well, when it comes up, it will be an active project at some point. But is it active or is it not active? You may want to think about something like that, something to indicate whether it's active or not. Now, how I did it was to add another status. In fact, I'm not sure I did do archived, but we'll leave an archived in. What did I just call that? I'm just checking mine. Yeah, I had another status in there of on hold. And on hold to me was like an administrative status. So again, I'd make it grey. I tended to have that at the top there, which means I could add a project and I could start putting things in. But when I'm working with my projects, I'm not particularly going to want to see it. Now, if this is proving a little bit tricky and you're thinking, I'm not seeing this, I'm not getting that, let me have a quick look, see if I could show you one of mine that would make any kind of sense at all. Yeah, I probably could. Yes, in fact, I've got one that's on hold. Right. So this is my project gallery. I've got it in gallery view. Look at this. Complete. It's amazing. But down the bottom, I also have projects like this one that's on hold. So having a status of on hold would mean that up here, I could filter it and I could say where the status is not on hold, which would give me active projects and not projects I cannot work on right now. So it's definitely worth it. You should be able to see from that as well. It's definitely worth putting in a little graphic because it's beautiful. It makes you want to work with it. So that's why I've put a graphic in. Okay, so we're doing quite nicely. Status is probably more important, as is due date. So get that up the top. I know what I did in here. Instead of archived, I didn't have a status of archived. What I did was add a property and had it set to archived. And the type was a yes, no. So it was a checkbox. So is the project archived or not? Right, I had tags right at the bottom. And I think I deleted files completely because it's useless. That you might as well put the files in the bottom. Now, Paul was with us last week and he was saying, how do you make a decision what goes in the top half and what goes in the bottom half? And there's an example. You could have left the files in the top, but I particularly want the files in the bottom. It just makes it easier to work with for me, but it's not right, not wrong. It's just what works for you. Right, looking at everything else I've got to do, I can't take that any further right now. Now, you're saying priority. Yep, you could add a priority If it's important, you have a priority, just add a priority, make it similar to the status. So a priority of on fire. You could do that. Just add them in. The reason I can't add any more of my information is all the rest is coming from somewhere else. All of them. So we'll come back and we will revisit projects. But right now, we're going back up to the top level. Projects is done. Areas of focus, as I said, it really does depend. Oh, we've got to break in. We have breaking news. The dogs arrived safely in Sydney. Oh, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Didn't put him in business class. Got to question that. We've contemplated me trying to get Lola in places by saying that she's a service dog, but she's got other ideas. I think she'd rather say that we're her staff. That would work best. Right, so the next thing I've got to do is think about what I'm going to create next. Actually, the tasks and actions probably makes the most sense, but I'm going to go for areas of focus just to show you how I would put that together. And the way it's slightly different from everything else, which is we'll have another inline table. We'll take that full screen, full width, there we go. And we'll have that as areas of focus. Now, like I said, this could be one of two things. It could be that you are splitting up your projects by home and work. Or it could be, which is the way I do it, an area of focus is something that looks like a project but does not have a completion date. It's something that I would do over time, like MacBites. MacBites is an area that I focus on, but it may have projects within it. Oh, so that's how I look at it. So I'll create one so we can see it. One of the ones I've got... can we wire? I mean, we can't wire everything up. But an area of focus, an example for me would be, we have a church site called Our Parishes, and they want work doing on the website. Why is that not a project? Because it never stops. Can you just? There have been individual projects, which is let's add X and roll it out on such and such date. But generally speaking, the work on the website never stops. So it's not a project. I don't want to see it in my list of projects because it's just something that I always have to do. So that's why I've put it in an area of focus. Right, I'm going to open it up and work in here with it. So tags, files, don't need files. Let's get rid of that for a start. I'll keep the tags, may or may not use them, tend not to. What I tend to do is very similar to the other one. It does look like projects. I will add a cover. I will add a status, and the status would be probably exactly the same. So a select for status and then put in on hold was the first one. Second one was not started. Not started and on hold are not the same. Not started means I haven't been bothered yet. On hold means I can't do it yet. Then in progress and then complete. Right, so let's do that and set those up right with the colours. So not started and in progress and complete. The exact words you put in here completely up to you. So the next thing, the other things that I would want to do with that, I'd probably have status before cover as well. Again, I can't quite do them yet. Can't quite link that in yet because the other tables aren't there. So that's as far as I can take it at this point. Oh, Debs, you're so right. Lola could be an emotional support dog. I don't know what she'd think about that. More biscuits, probably. She'd really want paying in biscuits. Now, I do have a cover for that, so let me get my cover in. This will look fabulous when I finish with it, so let's get the cover up there, which is that. Right, so we've got an area of focus table. Right, the next one, tasks, actions. Then we can start wiring things up, I reckon. Right, so I'll leave it set to tasks or actions. So far I've called mine tasks, but I'm seriously contemplating changing the word to actions. It sounds less arduous, doesn't it? Maybe that's just my mind playing tricks with me. Let's call it actions and be done. Right. So in here, what do you need for actions? Tasks. What kind of things would you need to do? So for me, for the website, it would maybe be to add a whole new section for something, but then that would probably be a project. So think about the tasks as individual jobs that are going to belong to a particular project. But we definitely need a task in here right now. So one of the things that I would put in here is update the rota page. Now I try to be quite clear with it. Update the Our Parishes rota page. So it gives me an indication of where that belongs. Progress items, done toggle. Yep, all of those, all of the above. So when it comes down to the tasks, I went for clients next, but let's go for tasks. Ooh, we can do much more with this. So first of all, let's get rid of that files one. I never use that up there. I don't. The reason that I don't is unless the file's got a very short name, you can't see the name even. So it makes working with the files very, very difficult. Right, so what kind of things do we need in here? Well, the good news is loads, and some of them we can even do. We can even put them in. Right. A task, where does a task live? Put that in while I put some fields in, like, how about a due date? Tasks definitely have due dates. You shout out some fields that you think you would need in an individual task. Is a due date enough? Do I need anything else? Need to change that format. Let's change the date and format to UK. There we go. Due date, that do? Just one date? Due date? That it? Well, I'm going to show you a couple of things that I do put in here. I put in special ones, which are at the bottom, the advanced ones. I put in a created time. So it was created tonight. And then I put in another one, which is a last edited time. Not helpfully called property 1 and 2. So the first one is created. I think I put creation date, created date, whatever, doesn't matter. Created date and edited date. So last edited, which you don't spell like that, edited date. Oh, with files, can you create a link? Yes, you can. Progress done. Come on, come on. More ideas, more ideas. Surely there's more than that. Surely there's more than that. Let's think dates. Do you only have a due date? Oh, no. No, not if you're me. Right, I have loads of dates. Right, my first date would be a defer date. What's a defer date, you think?
I've got one of those.
You got a defer date. Does everything just get deferred?
No.
A real genuine reason to have a deferred date. You're not going to share, Mike?
No, because you told me so.
Oh, I told him, so he's got one. Right, well, my defer date goes at the top. Basically, what that is for is to say, if I can't do something until a certain day, it's deferred until X. It could be that I'm waiting for something, so it gets marked as deferred. So it will become alive at a certain date, basically. So what couldn't I do till a certain date? I couldn't buy the Cup final tickets until United get to the Cup final. So I'll put it down as a task, optimistically, and put it off until the day I can actually do it. So that's what a defer date is. Any more dates? Oh, yes. I have a review date. This is so stuff doesn't fall through the cracks. So I put in a refer date. I'm going to stop doing this because I've got lots of dates. But I go through and I change every one to the right format. You may not need to do that. I wish you could do it globally. They haven't enabled that yet. But my review date goes in there. Any other dates? Oh, yes. I add a completion date. So I know you don't spell completion like that either. Fingers aren't working tonight. Right, completion date, and set that as a date. Any other dates? Yep. I even add a drop date. Now, obviously, it only gets a drop date if it's dropped. If for any reason there's a task and it's not needed all of a sudden, off it goes. So you can see I have 1,000,000 dates in here. You may not need all these dates, but that's what I do. Now, I also have another date. This one's great. This is the first time we're going to put a link into something with a date. Let me have a look. What else do I have? I think that's it. Oh, I have a task type, but your mileage may vary. But I'm going to put in another date. All right. Let's say with this rota page that needs updating, I can't do it yet. The reason I can't do it, and I'll have those tags at the bottom, I can't do it yet because the old rota is still going strong till the 26th. It's got to stay on the website till the 26th. So the first day that I can do it is the 27th of January. And even then, it presupposes that I've got the new rota. I would put a review date on it of the 31st. And the reason I do that is it needs to be there for the 2nd. So I would do that. The due date, well, actually that's the 31st. So I might take that back a bit to the 29th. And what would happen then? It would become alive on my system on the 27th. And if I haven't got the new rota by the 29th, I'm going to review it and then get on to the parish secretary. Where's the rota? And it needs to be finished by the Friday because that's the day everyone's going to check the rota online to see who's on Sunday. Completion date, can't fill that in, not done yet. And it isn't a task I'm going to drop, but the field just sits there anyway. But I like to know what days I've done stuff. Not when I'm in my tasks, but when I'm in my journal. When I'm in my day-to-day. So let's come out of there and remind you about the day-to-day. I'll open it up in another window. The day-to-day work is the journals. Here, there are all the days. And I like to see the tasks that I've done on certain days. So I need to create some kind of link. So in this one, I need another date, yet another one. But this time, it's my journal date. Now, you may call this days you worked on a project, days you worked on a task, whatever you want to call it, but I call it journal date. And I hook it up to my journal. I relate it to the journal. So what database do you want this? And it's journal. Did I call it journal? No, I called it days, I think. I think in here I called it days. There we go. And create a relation between them. Right, so this date goes up there. And what I put in there is the days that I've worked on it. And what makes that date different than any other date is these are single dates and I can only put one date in. But this task I might fiddle with it for a couple of minutes on 3 different days. This will allow me to do that. What dates did you work on it? So let's say I have actually done it and it's further down the line and I worked on it on the 28th. So the 28th of January. It's now hooked up to the 28th of January. When I go into my days and I look down to the 28th of January, oh, you worked on the task of updating the parish rota. I did indeed. And I've also done it on the 29th. So the 29th of January and the 30th. This is why journaling for me is pretty simple, because once I've done that, it builds itself. Once I go into the days, you worked on them for those 3 days. Awesome. Let's make that a smidgen wider. Now it says related to actions, which is the table, journal date. But actually, in there, I'd probably change that and just saying actions or tasks, whatever you want it to say. Right, so we've got our first one of those and we've wired it up. There's going to be lots more of those because nobody's mentioned this. Oh, I can't believe nobody's mentioned this. Tasks need to belong to a project or an area. They need to belong to something. They don't just exist in thin air. If they do, you just become like a rat on a wheel. You're doing everything that's sat on your desk, but you're not moving forward maybe a particular project or something. So even if it's an unallocated thing, even if it's just fill in that form online, I would then allocate that to general admin or something. Every task in my mind needs to be allocated to some kind of project or an area, in which case I need to relate this to a project. So I'll add a property and I'll say project. And that will be a relation, and it will be related to a database called, all together now, projects, the one we set up. And now we have that, which I tend to put at the top because I know I'm going to want to do something at that point. Am I in the right? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Right. Now, that links it to project, and obviously this is empty at the moment, but I could click on there and you can see that's my project. But as I said to you, this isn't really a project because it's going to come back next month. It's not something that can be complete. It's just going to appear again at some point. In fact, it's worse than that. I've simplified it. We don't just have one rota, we have about 27. There's the Eucharistic rota, there's the Welcomers rota, the tea and coffee rota, the handing out the hymn book rota, the readers rota, you name it, we've got a rota for it. If it moves, stick a rota on it. And they're all updated at different times. So believe you me, it's a continuing thing. So it's not a project, so I can't link it to a project. Other tasks or actions will be linked to projects, but probably not this one. This one would probably be linked to an area. So if I put in the area, now I tend to say area of focus, but an area rather than that. And let's relate it to that. And area. I do hope Mike's following along here, ready to build his system. I'm thinking that's probably unlikely.
No, I'm building my dashboard.
Oh, he's building his dashboard as he goes. Right, so it would either belong to a project or an area of focus. And there is the area of focus. So I can hook it up to that straight away. Which means from here, if there are any other tasks appertaining to that area of focus, I can click on that and it will take me through and it would show me. And it says related to actions by area of focus. So with this, I would change that and I would call it actions. Those are the actions. So back in here, if there was another one, so what else do I do, Mike? I tend to live there half the time. Go on, give me another task. Oh, I know. Update the hymn books. Yes, some idiot decided to redo the prayer, which means that it's got to be stuck in all the hymn books. Lucky me. Right, so there's my task. Is it a project? It could be the Update Hymn Books project, but to be honest, it's an area of focus and it's going to go into, not particularly the website though. So actually, it would have been better to just say our parishes. So I might even change this as I go. But now I've got two actions related to that area of focus. Hello, Deepak. Good to have you with us. We're talking about Notion. We're building a productivity system in Notion. It's amazing. Right, so we've got those in there. What else could we put in here? So let's have a look at the projects. Next actor. Oh, and the other thing with that is if I actually get round to doing it, because then I have to go into defer dates. Can't do it until the prayer's written. So let's say that doesn't happen until the 5th of February. So that's the earliest I can do it. But if I don't hear anything about it by the 5th or the 6th, at what point do I want to do something about it? So I'd say Monday the 17th. If I've not heard anything by Monday the 17th, I'm going to start chasing it up. Because I know the due date is, how about a visit from the bishop, Mike? On the 6th, yeah, let's make it the Friday. Friday the 28th of February before Sunday the 1st. There we go. Now, if I'm actually doing this, then it goes in here with my journal dates. So let's say I do get it on the 5th and I work on it on the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, probably about the 11th, I would have thought. So I work on it that day. So let's put that in. And I also work on it on the 12th. So I put down 2 days that I work on it. And the beauty of doing that is then when I look at the day, I can see the tasks that I performed, etc. And it got finished. Was that the 12th, 13th? No, the 12th. got finished on the 12th. So it didn't get dropped, that's not filled in. No, didn't have a project, that's filled in. But it's dealt with and it's done. Now, obviously, that one is then done. So we could do with something in there. What's missing? What's missing in there? That also needs a status, doesn't it, to say that that is actually finished. So we'd have a status in there as well. But the beauty of this, unlike Access or any other database that you have ever worked with, we'll stick that up there. You can go in and change this. So you saw I worked with it and I hadn't even got a status. So in this case, that's complete. So I'll start doing this in a slightly different way now. I'll do it where I only put in what I'm actually interested in. I'm not putting in the rest because I'm too busy. Right, I'll go and put in the other statuses as I work through it. Right, so have we got everything that we need there? Almost. Almost, but not quite. But the rest of it will come from somewhere else. Right, so let's head back to the home page. Where are we at now? Well, we've got the 3 that I said we needed, but there's also clients. So let's build a clients table. That's actually fairly straightforward. What should this look like? Well, let's go full width. Let's put in an inline page, an inline table. There we go. And this one's going to be clients. Fairly straightforward. A client, you're just going to give the client a name. So MacBites is a client. Our parishes is a client, as far as I'm concerned. What other information do I want in there? Well, I definitely don't want the files because I delete the files all the time, so let's get rid of that. What else do I need in there? Well, it depends on how you're tracking it. It depends on what you want. I kept it really simple. It could, however, be hooked up to contacts. So further back, Alex said people involved. Well, if you have particular contacts at companies, you'd have a contacts database and it would be hooked in to your clients. I have no idea why that came up with a ship. I'm sure I didn't do that. Let's remove the ship. Right. But I kept it incredibly simple. Couldn't be much more simple. Right. I have a client and what do I want to know? And what I want to know, and it would make more sense if I use this one. What I want to know is what projects have I done for that client? So I'll add a property of projects. It's a relation. It's going to need to go to the projects table and look it up. So go to the projects and look it up. At the moment, nothing in there. Wonder why, that's right. But remember, no projects for this because it's an ongoing thing. So I need to add another one, which is areas of focus. And I need in there that to be a relation. Select a database, and that one is areas. And it's hooked up. We'll put the tags at the bottom, out the way. If there are projects that are a one-off, so we're rolling out a new website and it's done and it's dusted, it's a project, it's a standalone thing that I need to focus on, then it's a project. Otherwise, it's something that's ongoing, it's an area of focus. In this case, I'm going to hook it up to there. Is that right? Yes, it is. We have an area of focus for the church. So I'd probably call that something else. Our parish. What makes sense, Mike? Our parish is ongoing. There you go. Ongoing tasks. Basically ongoing jobs. Only because it makes more sense in here that you can read it and say, yeah, there's an area of focus which is the ongoing tasks. If there was a roll out new website and it's a separate project, then that goes in projects. Right, what else did I have in there? I had Munich. So I'm going to put in a client of Munich, and that would enable me, let's get that out of the way, projects at the beginning. That will enable me from either here or projects, doesn't matter, let's do that one from here, to put in the brochure. So I can hook up the creation of that brochure to that client. It's really simple. That's all I did with it. Just those two fields. What it gives me at the end of the year, I would be able to go back and go into one of these clients and be able to see all of the projects listed there and all of the areas of focus that I've worked on underneath there. Simple as that. So at that stage, we've got 4 of them. Now, is everything hooked up? And the answer to that should be no, it's not. So let's go back into the projects, because there must be some things missing in here. Let's open up a project. Is that everything we want to see in it? Now you see what happens here. It adds a backlink. So when you add a relation between 2 tables, you get a field in the table you create it from, and you also get a field in the destination table. And I want that to be client. And that one is actions. Right. Is that all I need? So let's have a think. Is that all I need? You've gone very quiet. Have you done a Johnny and nodded off on me? Come on. There must be something missing here. This is a project. There must be something missing. We have a due date. We have the tasks, the actions here, and we know who the client is. But there must be something missing. Well, one thing that's missing is I can't see what days I worked on this project, because I don't have a journal date. But I can create one by creating a relationship between the project's database that I'm in and the days. And on this one, oh, I can happily see here, I'll probably put that under there. I can happily see here I'll be working on this forever, but I'll definitely be working on it tomorrow. Oh, you're concentrating, Tracy. Okay, you're concentrating. Right, the 18th of the 1st, 2020. Definitely the 19th of the 1st, 2020. The 20th, because by the time I've finished it and Mike's decided what else needs to be in it, this will be going strong till Tuesday, the 21st. On the 21st, it is due to go to print. So by then, all the spelling mistakes will need to be dealt with. So I will be working on that for those 4 days. So that definitely needs to go in there. Is that it? Is that everything? Because now it's about to get... Well, I've got a choice. Let's have a look at the time. We can either get really complicated or we can get really sexy. So it's up to you. Let me think whether we can get... We can get sexy without getting complicated. We can do complicated next week. It's more of a theoretical thing that we would be doing. I'm trying to think where that would be relevant. I can make an example that would be relevant. So it's up to you. Do you want complicated or do you want sexy? Let me know in the chat. But what we've got so far, that's not bad at all. Checking what I've got here. I've got tasks, I've got clients. I've got the 2 that are making it complicated. That's everything, I think. Apart from one thing. Who knows about GTD? Who doesn't care about GTD? Who sticks to GTD? GTD is getting things done. It's a methodology, a productivity methodology from David Allen. So I want more chat in here. Come on, talk to me. So I need to know at this point which way we're going. I tend to go sexy myself. But we can see, we can see. Because one of the questions we got last week from Paul, and Paul's probably going to watch on catch up, because otherwise Paul's been incredibly quiet, more quiet than the rest of you, was at the moment, there you go, you've built stuff. You have built stuff. But how do you actually use it? Because the problem with this... Oh, you want both. We've got one for sexy and one for both. Which was your vote going, Mike? He's not sure. No. He's thinking. Oh, I get a proxy. I get a proxy. Another one for sexy. You know the 2-minute rule. Other than that, you just use bits and pieces. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll put down some GTD overview next week. And then the rest would make more sense. So let's go sexy then. Alex, don't worry. You're going to get both, but we're just going to split it. Right. The question from Paul was, this was in our Slack chat. It's great building systems like this. If you're anything like me, you've probably tried OmniFocus or things. Let me know in the chat. You tried OmniFocus or things? I have tried OmniFocus many times and it's lovely. I build systems and it's fabulous. Using them, that's the issue. So for this to work, once you've got it this far, you need to make it easy to use. You need to make it so you want to use it. So what could you do with it that would make you want to use it? It's a to-do system, for crying out loud. Who wants to do work? But you would if it was sexy to do. So let's go back to my system, which is alive with lots of lovely projects in it and stuff. But let's go back here. Let's take the filter off it. So that's every project I've ever put in here. You can see a lot of them are complete. Obviously, if Ladies' Night last November wasn't complete, I would have a problem. All right. At the Christmas concert, that was another one. And all of the after hours. These are projects. These are projects. There's the show. It's complete. Yay. Right, but there's no point me having to come in here to find these, to look at them, to find a project, to go and find the linked tasks to go and do them. Because let's be honest, it's not happening. It's not happening. So what you need is a way to make it that you want to do it. And I do that with my WAG sheet, my weekly action guide. This is next week. You'll notice it's alarmingly blank. I like weeks like that. But you should begin to see now how I've done this because it's so similar to the other one. Let me show you what the weeks look like in here. Let's look at week 3. A timeline of what to do. Well, Notion are adding a timeline feature. I tend to do a timeline in a slightly different way. Let's open up week 3. What I do in here is I live in my week view. So if we look at what we've got there, that's the week view that we've built. You've actually witnessed that being built. We've got the dates at the top, then we've got the journal days underneath, then we've got the month it belongs to, and then we've got the quarter. And Paul's question was, what on earth do you put down here? What on earth goes in this bit to make the week work? That's the question. What goes in there that would entice you in? And the answer to that is by doing a comparison between that and mine. 1, it's got graphics, it's nice and colourful. It's got the dates, it's got the week number, it's got the links to the journal pages, and the month, and the quarter, and the year. But at the bottom, it's got a fantastic little layout as well. In fact, that's the wrong week. It's week 4 I should be looking at. Scrap week 3, it's week 4. Because I want the new week. So let's favourite that. Right, so exactly the same thing. But as we go down, the goals are blank. The tasks, there's nothing there. There's a few things because I try to theme the days, but these need moving around. So I need to rejig that. But every week I start with that. I start with the basics. I've probably got a MacBites show to do on something with on the Monday, so I put that there. That's my content creation system. That's my emails, communications and stuff. And that's a MacBites show on a Friday. Usually. Then I check the Brooklands news for Mike every Saturday. The weekly review is on a Sunday. And then I need to know if it's grey bin day. That's real rubbish for you and I. Rubbish that actually leaves the house. Not this recycling malarkey, where it takes weeks and they empty it like once every Preston Guild. Which, if you're abroad, you're wondering what a Preston Guild is. Once every 50 years, I think. So they empty it when they feel like it. So I need to be reminded to make sure I don't miss the grand day they actually take the rubbish. I've then got items that I carry forward. That should be italicised, so the template needs changing. Not bad as far as it goes. So what I tend to do is come in here, right, what's the number 1 goal for next week? And that would be the Munich brochure. That has got to be ready by Tuesday. If it's not ready by Tuesday, things are on fire. Another issue would probably be MacBites. So MacBites 124. There we go. That's on fire. And the other thing would probably be the after hours. So after hours, and that is 60. And by putting an at the beginning, I'm creating a click-through link. So I can click from there and be taken straight through to after hours. Look, not started. Well, let's say it's now in progress. And there's all the stuff about it. It's amazing, isn't it? So it's the linking of things together that makes it a whole lot easier. The next thing I do is click next to the day. Because this isn't clickable. This isn't going anywhere. But if I click next to the day and Monday is the 20th. And I put in the date. Guess what? My journal comes up. And I'm going to fold that up so I've got more of a view, and it'll put it next to it. I do the same next to every single day. So part of my weekly review is doing this. Now you might say, oh, you have to do this every time. It gets you in the right frame of mind that you feel that you've created something and you will then use it. Seriously, you will. So I wire up the days just by doing that. And it literally takes less than a minute. And it's so worth it. Okay, so put those in. And that's the 24th. Now, next week's a good week for me to demonstrate with you, because the show is not on Friday. Oh, no. We have people visiting. So the show is on Saturday. So although I have a template to get me started, it is perfectly fine for me to go in and make changes to it. So it's a starting point. It's not something that I'm melded to. So the first thing I would do, in fact, I'd move that to here. But I actually tend to get rid of that because it's the show, isn't it? So it's not a MacBites, it's an after hours. So it's an after hours and it's 60. So you saw me put a link in for that. Now it's there. And obviously at the beginning it's a to-do. It's got to be done. And that will take me through to there as well. So I've got a link from there and there. That one I would probably get rid of this week. Need to deal with that. And then I've got things to put in. So I know on Monday I'm going to need to be working on the Munich brochure. And I don't think I've actually put this in my own to-do system yet, because we're now working with my to-do system. So you can see what needs to be in the bottom half. Oh, what else needs to be done? Not a clue. Not a clue. But I would work through my days and I would put down what needs to be done on a particular day. So maybe it's pay a credit card or anything else either. I put that in there. If there's something that I'm thinking, need to do that the week after, I put that under carry forward. And if there's any notes or anything, I'd put those in the weekly notes. And all of that gets processed in the weekly review. There's any tasks I need to do and I'm not sure when it needs to be done. So let's say pay credit card bill is actually up there. I just put it there and then allocate it to a day when I need to make a decision. So, and to do that, I just drag it down and now it's on Thursday. But here is the bit that Paul needed to know, because that's good as far as it goes. It's got hooks into all of the days. It's below the fold. So this is the meta at the top. And that's what's in the thing at the bottom. But here is where the power is. Projects. Look, projects. There's a little arrow on it. That means it's a linked database. It's a database embedded in this page, but the data is coming from my engine room. If you remember, I call it engine room. There's my engine room. And my engine room has in it all of my databases. My journal, weeks, months, quarters, years, projects, areas, clients, and tasks. That's my engine room. But they're no good to me in my engine room because it's hard to work with them. Do you add all the bottom half manually each week? No, I don't, Kim. No. The bits I've added manually are the bits you've seen. But if I wanted to create, let's go up to my WAG worksheets, and we said this about that number, I think, last week. Random notes from the week. So last week we created that when we were playing around. Let's imagine that is actually a week. So if we look here, I haven't got week 6. So let me create week 6. I would call it what I need to call it, which I have a system that works, which is WAG, Weekly Action Guide for 2020, week 6. Right, and that's fine as far as it goes. Not sure what days it would be. Oh, the days are right, and the week number is week 6. At that point, I don't have any links to the journals, the months, the quarters, the years, or anything like that. And I've got some notes in it. But I'm going to delete those notes because it doesn't look anything like mine, does it? It's blank at the bottom. But what you can do here, so I've just opened it as a page so we can see it. And I would change it so it's full width. But you can base a new item in a database on a template. So when you look down here, you can create a new template. You can use an empty page, or you can use the WAG, which I created, which is the Weekly Action Guide. Now, it's a little bit dated because I need to update it because I've just made some huge changes. But if I click on there, it builds in the bottom half. Everything. You'll see, grey bin, Tuesday. It's got everything in it, including my projects. So let's go back to where we were. So no, you don't have to start from scratch, but you do need to put in your goals. You do need to put in the dates next to it if they are important to you. If they're not, don't bother. But I like putting them in because I get a little icon representing the dates. So back to our WAG worksheet. So I now have 6. Right, but I was in 4, wasn't I? That's where I was in 4. Right. So I've just started creating that. So I'm saying down here I have projects. But look at them. There's only 1. And it's right. How am I pulling that project in? Because I'm looking at the project table. So Paul's question was, how do you get the stuff in the bottom half of the item that's relevant to the time frame, which in this case is the week? And the answer to that is I went and got a database. So just let's go down the bottom. And I said linked, create a linked database. And then I need to link to the database, which is projects. And I think I did it in capitals. And my rationale was, you see how many project things I've got in there? That one I know is right because you can see it says project and it's in capitals. But it brings in every project in a hideous table. It's useless. It's not pretty. So it doesn't, I don't like it. So then what I do is add a view. I make it a gallery view and I call it gallery. So you're seeing it from scratch. And there we are. But I'm not seeing any pictures or anything. So still useless. Because you need to go in and you need to change the properties. And you need to say the card preview needs to be the cover, and that's why I bothered creating it. As soon as I do that, now I'm much more interested in using this thing. Now I'm interested. But still, not quite right. I would go and create a sort, and the sort would depend on what you want to work with. I mean, that's sorted by name ascending, which is particularly useful. I would say by due date would make the most sense. Ascending. But I've got a problem. Because remember these? The gala dinner, the ladies' night, Christmas concert, finished, done. Don't want to see them. For that reason, you need to create a filter. Now, that's why we added the meta that we added. So what would make sense to use here to filter it? Now, given what it actually is, this is going to get a little bit complicated, but don't fear. That's a good question there. Will I be sharing the templates? These have probably got all my stuff in at the moment. I'm going to have a look at what I can do with the one in the demo account and see what I can do. What do you do when the database doesn't show up? Everything but the ones I want. The one I want show. So the one you want doesn't show up. Sometimes it's as simple as just closing the app down or refreshing the page. Notion can just be, with it being an online service, just have a moment. Other than that, you could copy the database. I think you can get a link to the database and then try and paste it in. But it should come up with the right one if you just refresh the page. It does just have a moment with itself. I've had that when I'm trying to link stuff and I'm jumping up and down because I can't link it. And I have to go and do it the manual way. Right, the query's actually quite complicated, but only because I'm weird. There we go. I've said it. The query I need is quite complicated just because of the way I want it. Let's pretend this was... we could put the right one in, couldn't we? But if we put the right one in, we're not going to see it, I don't think. Let's create the query anyway. Right. I want to search for a property, and the one I want is journal date. Journal. There we go. Where the journal contains And then I need to select a page. Now, for that to work, I need to know what dates are in week 4. So back to the top, the 20th. It starts on Monday. So in my filter, I need to say where the journal day is that one. No, that's January. 20th. 20th, 20th, 20th. 20th. That's the one. 20th. Now, obviously at the moment, nothing's showing, but that's right. Because I haven't worked on anything on the 20th yet, have I? But I would also need to say, or where the journal contains, and then everything comes up, the 21st. So basically, I'm going to build a query that says where the journal day includes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So it's a long query. I need to do that 7 times, but you literally just repeat it, where the journal contains 22nd. Once you've got it created once, it's a simple matter of changing the query. Now, obviously at the moment, that's still not bringing anything up, but that's because we haven't worked on those projects on that day. So I've created it. That's how you create it. But let me scroll back up and show you this one, which is the real one. There's the filter. There's the 7. They're dated from the 20th to the 26th. And that project there is being worked on the 25th. Because I know I'm working on it on the 25th. I must be. So let me show you. If I add here another filter for where the journal contains the 25th, as soon as I do that, the one item I know I'm working on should appear. Why are you not appearing? That's not good, is it? Come on, aren't you the same? First, 22nd. That should appear because it should be the same as that. There it is. How bizarre. How bizarre. No idea what's going on there, but this is exactly the same as that. It's just pre-built. But that presupposes that in here, where the due date's the 24th, and I'm working on 24th, not the 25th. That's why. Okay, it will populate at the bottom. I don't know why I put the Friday on it. If I put in the right date, that I will be working on it. And trust me, I will be working on it on the 25th because I'll be here on the 25th. Now it's appeared at the bottom. So operator error by me. Right, so that's how you build it. This is a pre-built one that just literally saves me doing the query a million times. That would bore you rigid. But I have a problem. And the problem I have is, what if I want to pick another project? Where's the Munich project? Now, actually, I haven't added the Munich project. Aha! So one option for me is to add the project, which is the Munich 58 brochure. So I've decided this week I need to work on that. We said it needed to be due on the 21st. The reason it was there before, and it isn't there now, is that we were using the demo site. Now we're using mine. Right, who's the client? The client is Munich. There we go. And we'll have that. I will drag and drop one. I have the brochure over here. That's not going to work. Need to click away. You can drag into it, but not if it's selected. So let's go to cover and drag and drop that in. Right, status. Yes, lovely. Status. It's available. I could work on it. I'm not doing, but I could do. And that'll do. Right. Journal days. At the moment, we've got the 20th. I will be working on that. That's Monday. But I'll be working on that probably from tomorrow. So let's put all the days that I'll be working on it, which you already did in the other one. So the 18th, the 19th. Now, if Deb's still awake there... no, Kim. It was Kim that asked this question. You'll be seeing the dates are going in the wrong order because they're going in the order that I'm adding them. So that's what's wrong with that. I wonder if you can rearrange them. That's not even the right day, is it? It should have an icon. If it hasn't got an icon, it's not the right day. That's the one. Can I move these around? Yes, you can. So if you particularly wanted them in the right order, because like me, you're anal, you can move them around. Okay, so those are the 4 days I know for a fact I'm going to be working on that. Right, that should show you that what happens up here is as soon as the journal date is added, it appears. Fantastic. That's great if you've already said you're working on a project on a particular day, or it's a new project and you're creating it. I'm glad to know you're awake, Deb. Only late afternoon. It's 8 minutes to midnight here, but I'm a night owl. Right, so what I did, having come across that problem, was like, that's great. But what do I do if I know I've got a project in my system and I want to work on it this week? And that is where the master project list comes in, which is this little thing down here. Originally, which is why I've changed the template, I had the master project list open and in your face. And I thought, it's overwhelmed, I do not need to see it all. And I thought, why don't you hide it? So I put it in a toggle. If I untoggle that, there is all the projects that are available to me. Please note, available. Work needs to be done, woman. Because if I go into the filter, I've excluded complete ones, and I've excluded stuff I cannot work on because it's on hold. So now I've got a focused view of stuff that should have been done, or needs to be done. So, for instance, that was YouTube embed problem. Did I add a... No, I didn't, did I? I need to work on this week. It's already behind, believe you me. So I go to the journal and decide I'm going to work on that tomorrow. So once I put my date in and I click away, why did you not appear up there? Have I got the wrong date again? Oh, it's the 18th. I know why. This is next week. I'm working on these dates, but no, it's next week, isn't it? Which is not the 18th, 19th. It's the 20th. It's the 20th. It needs to be Monday. All right, I'll work on it on Monday. There you go. Promise I'll work on it on Monday. As soon as I do that, it appears in my active projects and I can close up my master project list. Having said that, I know that there's something else I'll be working on, and that is that. So journal days, I've already worked on it for a bit, but I'll probably do some work on it on Monday. Well, Monday's turning into a very busy day, isn't it? Once I do that, that gets added in as well. And then I close up my master project list. Now what I'm going to do down here, because that's then looking confusing, this, isn't it? Just going to delete that because it's an exact copy of this. It's just that I built it so you could see how it was built. So my week, remember what we're in here, we're in a record in the week database, but I've put all of the work that I'm doing in the week in it, and underneath it, I've got the projects I'm working on. What you'd then do is you would put inside the project, you'd link to the tasks that you need to do. So let's say the Munich one. What actually needs to be done here? And you can link to tasks, but obviously I haven't got any tasks for that at the moment. But I could put one in. So I could say, and remember that was 2020. Right, I could say, send the Munich brochure for print is a task. And indeed it is. So, send Munich brochure to print. That's a task. Now, it knows it's not in there yet. So it says, create a new page in tasks, please, if you would. And now I've created a task that's attached to this project. If I open that up, it will tell me the project it's connected to is the Munich 58 brochure. So the key with Notion is to hook everything together. Now I'm looking at the task. I can start saying, what type is it? Now, I've created these things, but you don't need to worry about that. I'm not going to put a defer date on it or a review date. I haven't got time. But it's got to be sent for print by Tuesday. So I can put that in. I can then start putting my journal dates in. I know I'm going to work on it on the 20th. We've already determined that. So I'll put my journal dates in relation to the task. I'm not going to complete it because this is real. This isn't a demo. This is my stuff. But that's what I would do. Then if I've got any other information, at the moment, I'm just working with the meta in the top half. But if there's anything in relation to that, which is, but let's just say, a note to myself, ensure Mike has proofread this. Oh, I know. Carefully. Let's blame Mike if it goes wrong. In fact, I can do better than that. Let's take Mike out and put at Mike. Right, now he'll get notified he's been mentioned as well. Okay, now actually that's a task for Mike. There's no point in having that task in my task list, is there? So there's the task linked to the project, but I'm not overwhelmed by the fact that on my weekly view, I have 47 tasks that need to be done. All I need to do is decide to focus. Focus is the key. I'm going to focus on this, open it as a page, what needs to be done. Oh yes, I need to do that. Now there's other things that I would need to do. Let me think. I'm genuinely trying to think what my first task with this would be. Probably create new Affinity publisher file for that. We have one. It's a long story. It needs a new one. So that's my first task, actually. Create that. So probably I want to move that up. Create that. So now I've got 2 tasks in there and it makes more sense. And I can then put in, so create, that's my task. So while I'm looking at that, I might want to put some explanation in. There is a copy of and this is all true. This is true. Publisher file from 2019, but it was converted from Affinity Designer and needs updating. No, not updating. It needs redoing completely, to be honest. Right, so I've left myself a note about it. This is good because I'm actually working here and you're just following along, which is great. So it's got a project attached to it. You can put in as much information as you want. When's that due? Is that deferred or anything? And remember, in this, that's definitely going to be done tomorrow because that's the first task. So the 18th. In fact, it's now today. It's now today. It's midnight here. So the 18th of the 1st. So that's going to be done that day, for sure. Sometimes you probably won't want to put all of that information in. Depends on how granular you're getting with your task, but it's there if you want to. But to be honest, I don't really need to put anything else in there. I can just say whether it's done or not when it's done. So, did we add a status? I thought we added a status. Did I not add a status? Oh, why didn't I add a status? I wonder what my thinking was for that. Maybe I never finish anything. That wouldn't surprise me. Let's add a status in and stick it at the top. Is it more important than that? It probably is. It should probably go about there. So again, on hold. This one would be in progress. So let's put that in there. And in progress would probably be probably orange. Right. Now you'll notice up here, because I've opened this as a page, yes, we don't need that. Because I've opened it up as a page, the breadcrumb is taking me back through the tasks table into the task page into the engine room. Because I've actually opened it and that's where it lives. But if I go back, sometimes it's a little bit finicky going back. Where were we? We were in week 4. And I go back and there is my project and I get my project overview from there. And from here, I can open up the client so I can see all the jobs that I've done for the client or if there are any areas of focus or anything else. Whatever else I want to do with it, basically. And I can do that with all of the projects. So that's what I do with projects. But I've also started adding a master actions list to it so you can see all of the tasks if you want to. And I've added in comms as well, which probably isn't up to date. Here we go. No, that's next week. That's fine. That did go. That got sent. So again, this is my comms table. This is when I should be creating mails and sending mails. So that one is ready to send. Next week's reminder, believe it or not, is ready to send. So I've got the reason I did that, because I can get to this by going somewhere else in Notion, but I don't want to move from this page. If I move from this, but this is home base, and if I move from this page, I might hair off looking at something else. Another thing that I decided to add was my notes. So I have a table of notes. It's just general notes. Let's have a look at it. It is in my resources, I do believe. There we go, notes. It's just notes, hundreds and hundreds of, isn't it horrible? They're even original source, where they all came from. It's ridiculous. And in that format, it's absolutely useless to me. But what I decided to do was add my notes in multiple ways. And one way was accessing all my notes. That's the wrong view. I created a gallery view. To access all my notes in here with a gallery view so I can read them. But better than that, they're by date. So some of the stuff, I'm working on this at the moment, and I've got some data about it. It's just a note. It was originally created in Notion, and the only reason I've got that there is because I've got stuff from Bear and Agenda and OneNote and Evernote, you name it, I've tried them. That was the date it was added to the system. That was the date that I looked at it and worked on it. It's research, and there's no files attached to it, but I just left that there in case there was. But I put my files at the bottom. And I've got single-click access to my notes. So let me show you some of the notes, give you an idea of what some really good notes look like. Photomagico for iPad, that was something that we talked about. If I'm going to do anything about that, then I need access to stuff and I need to remember when things were. The announcement email arrived on the 10th. That's a link to my journal. The demo live stream was on the 14th. There's the embed of it. That's the subtitles for it. This is the launch video, so I can sit and watch it. And then I've got a link to the press release, and that was the 18th, and a link to the homepage. And that's my idea of taking notes. And I want access to them when I want them from the whatever week I am in, and that enables me to do it. If I then do some more work on this next week, say the 25th, I'd go in there and I would add the 25th to my journal. The benefit to me of that is when I look at the day for the 25th, it's like a diary. I know exactly what I worked on and where it is. I can click through and I can find it. So that was me adding my notes to it. So that is, we've taken that as far as we can take it before we get into complicated. But just to give you an idea as to what complications we'll be looking at next week, you may have noticed in the projects in GTD, which is why I look at GTD, Mike, make a note. I'll look at GTD and explain the principles to you. Have started work on that. Oh yes, have started work on that in my notes, GTD notes. There we go. So these are my GTD notes and the notes that I'm making. Ready for next week. Amazing, isn't it? Oh, organised. Right. Before we go into that, I'll talk about GTD because let's have a look at this one. This differs slightly from the one that we built because it's got 3 extra fields in it. So to whet your appetite for next week and get you thinking, there's 3 things in here, and I haven't particularly wired them up. There's a next action, because this is a project. What's the next thing I need to do? I don't want to look at the full task list, so it could have 57 items in it, and it will only show me 10 anyway. How do I see what I should do next? I have a next action. What is the next thing I should do for that? It's to create the publisher file. So I'll click on it and we'll put create publisher. Come on, find it. No, it was Affinity Publisher, wasn't it? Create. No. Yes, there we are. Top one. What that is, that next action, is another link to the tasks database, but now it tells me what my next action is. So I don't bother looking at the rest of it. That's what you're doing next. When I go into that, so now I'm looking at my task. I know that the project is there and that this is the next action for that project. Which means once it's done and I've marked this off as done, I'm going to need to whip back into the project and choose a different next action to move things forward. But that's a quick, brief look at next week, because that was the look of it and all the tables and the page. That was the sexy bit. The other bit is wiring it together, and that's what we'll do next week. We'll look at next actions and we'll look at master projects and sub-projects. Oh, yes, we can nest them as well. So we've taken it pretty far, to be honest, haven't we? Pretty far. We're probably at the point, all of that's done, and all of that's done, and we've wired it together, and we even added clients in as well. So that's the point we're at with it. If you've got any questions, bung them in the chat or contact me. So, do I know how to get Apple Notes into Notion? I don't think you're going to be able to do that directly. You say you know how to import Evernote or CSV, but not Apple Notes. It's going to depend on the format Apple Notes you can send them out in. Can you export from Apple Notes? I don't use Apple Notes. I'm betting not, and I'm betting not because you can draw in Apple Notes. So I doubt it's going to export into a nice, healthy CSV. What I'd probably do, I mean, you've seen me consolidate notes from all over. What I did was, it's going to depend on how many notes you've got. You saw me with, let's go and have a look at them. Let's get out of that. You saw me with the notes, bring stuff in from all over the place, not particularly that view. But I had notes, resources, notes, and let's look at original source here. There they are. They came from Bear or Google Keep or a post-it note on the desk or my paper arc. What I'd be tempted to do, like you're saying, is export them as PDF and bring them in that way. I have got PDF stuff that I've brought in here. I can't for the life of me remember which particular one at the moment. But what I did was I took the opportunity with Bear, my arc, post-it notes, agenda, and Google Keep of going through the entire contents that I had in them with a view to getting them down to 0. And I did. It didn't take that long because I didn't have that much stuff in it. But the reason that I did it was I wanted to make sure that everything that was in there had been processed to 0. I didn't want to just wholesale drag a load of stuff in that I was never going to look at again. I took the opportunity and it was quite cathartic. I would recommend it. However, you will notice there is nothing in there from OneNote and there's nothing in there from Evernote. I can import from Evernote, but I've got 10,500 notes. And they're not coming into Notion, no way, no how. They'll come in one at a time when it's relevant. OneNote, even worse, because some of that's handwritten. So I've got the same problem with that as Goodreader. What I would do with those is export to PDF if they were relevant and then bring them in one at a time. It does sound horrific, but it gives you a chance to triage old notes. And I found I got rid of quite a few. That there were just random, pick up X. I'll tell you, I had about 5 or 6 in Bear that were codes when you go visit places. And this is the gate code. And I'd put it in there. Well, I don't need the gate code. It changes every day. I deleted them all. Whereas if I dragged the whole lot in and imported them, they'd still be there now. And they're very relevant. And they're just slowing the system down. So I would go through them one by one. But I haven't done that with Evernote. I've made the decision to stay with Evernote as is at the moment. Right, let's get that down there and that down there and get back into there because it's unboxing time. And not only is it unboxing time, Mike's got something to unbox. Oh, that's unusual. It's unusual I let him have toys. Do you want to go first, Mike? Oh, he's not sure now. Right, let me get this all set up so we can see the unboxing. No good if you can't see it, is it? So, heading over to the webcam now, and you should be seeing my laptop. There we go, there's my laptop. So this is running the show right now. I'm going to push it forward. No, I'm not. It's going to have to come this way. Oh, this is alarming. If you remember, it's a shame I can't show you that, but if you remember the picture from last week, this cable that you see coming across and pushing that way because it's on charge. There we go. Let's get that out of the way. That's got 2 webcams attached to it. So I've got some room that we can work. Let's get rid of the keyboard. And do you want to come across and open your toy, Mike? And explain.
Opened last week.
Well, yeah, but you didn't open the box. They don't know what it is, so it's okay.
Oh, I do want it.
You should know what it is. Yeah. Right, get it lined up so you can see yourself on here.
Right.
And then you're good to go.
Right.
Right. I'll talk them through the unboxing.
I'm doing it. I'm opening it. Right. It's a cardboard box.
Put it underneath the camera so they can see it. There we go. Do you want to open it?
In that cardboard box.
You've got to open it there so they can see it. No, you can't bring it back. It's got to be there.
Right, you'll have to shift out.
No.
Right. Here we go.
Right, that'll work fine.
Right.
Oh, I wish we had a camera.
We have. Shall I turn it around?
You're still not in front of it.
Right. In this cardboard box, I can't open it. You'll have to get the sellotape off.
Oh, for crying out
Yes, it's
loud.
covered in sellotape.
Right, and you've no nails.
I've got no nails. Right, in this cardboard box, there is... What are you pushing me for?
You need to be in just the right spot.
Right, okay. There is...
How are you describing it?
a USB hub
Thing.
There we go. USB hub. Because when I was using my Surface, there's only one USB port.
Move it down.
So move it down.
There we go.
There we
Perfect.
go. Yeah. So you plug that into the USB slot, and then I can plug my mouse and 3 other devices.
So you've overloaded your Surface, basically.
Yeah. So there we go. Nice, cheap and cheerful and very useful.
And you're wafting it off camera, but never mind. Crying out loud, Mike. It's not rocket science, this. Now, what I'm interested in is...
Take it back.
No, because I've got my hands on it now.
Oh.
What I'm interested in is how it compares to mine. It's light as a feather. That's plastic. Mine's metal. But yours was a standard USB, wasn't it? I had to pay extra. Mine is there. There's mine. Has mine got more on it than yours? Hence it being cheap and cheerful, Mike. Mine is similar. There. It's got the 3 USBs. That one's got 4. But mine has also got 2 card readers on it. And around that side, there, move it out of the way, it's got pass-through power. And it's got HDMI as well. So, similar in size. Mike's is much lighter. Mine's metal, probably costs more. But I don't think it costs that much more. But obviously Mike needs this kind of end for his, and my laptop does nothing unless it's got a USB-C thing on it. Right, there you go. Now you can have it back. And take all your rubbish as well, because we're going into my toys. Right, I've got 3 toys actually. Where did the other toy go? Oh, I've got stuff stacked up on my toy. I've got to open my toy. Right, so let's get that locked in there. There we go. There we go. Right, there's my 3 toys. Right, let's open this toy. These are more utility toys than anything. And I'm going to get that laptop lid up so I can actually see if there's any chat. Can't see the chat. Can see the chat now. Right. Oh, you love this bit, do you, Paul? Right, well, here you go. Utility toys. Utility toys. This was something we talked about, which was cables, cable management. These things were about £2.50 each. And that you wrap your spare cable around. So it's this little thing at the top. No idea how that comes out. Does it come out the other way? Do we have to rip it? Could well be. Right, let's go crazy and tear it out. Right, idea being you wrap the spare cable around it. So some of the cables I've got are pretty long. I thought it'd be handy. Let's see if it works, I thought. So there it is. They're advertising it for charging cables. Hence that on there. And also headphones, which I must admit I don't use that often, but I do have a fairly long cable for my headphones. So we'll see how they go. They do them in different colours. I went for the cream ones. I figured I'm going to have to take headphones away with me, earpods, when we go away. So when we go away, I do tend to take those with me. So I'll probably wrap them around those. So they're called Bobino. And that's all they do. That's it. Piece of plastic. And there's me getting excited. But there you go. I'll tell you how they go. I'm liking the fact that that bit there is quite tiny. So you could retain it, basically, the end. But we'll see how it goes, because you know what Apple cables are like. They last all of 2 seconds. But I went for 3 of those. So that's the first thing. Right, this is the second bit. This again is to do with cables. Even more appropriate after last week. So the question last week was about managing cables and labelling cables. Now, could I possibly show you that? Oh, I think I could. I do love it if I can show you things. Right, last week's labelling cabley thing was... Let's see if I can pull this through. That's not going to go. That one's not going to go. But this one is going to go, which is this cable here. In terms of labelling cables, you may be able to see if I drag this back. Let's drag this back over here. Remember last week we had labels. I'm going to get a pointer now. There is a label. Unfortunately, I can't take it any further because if I do, it's going to unplug. But at the end of my yellow pointer there is a label wrapped on that thing that's around it. It's a green label and it says "Write" on it. The other one is at the other end. I'm wondering if we could possibly see it, but I don't think we can. I have 2 webcams next to each other. The other one has a label on it, exactly the same as that, but the other label is yellow and says "Left." Guess which is the right and left camera? So I've colour-coded them and I've put the text on them. I'll take pictures and put them on the slide next week. Mike will remind me of that as well. Right, so here we go. This is similar to do with that kind of thing. But I said with the labelling of cables that it's very difficult to get them to stick. You need to basically cover them with sellotape. So these... Oops, there we go, fallen out. These are an alternative idea to that. So they look like little lolly sticks, don't they? But I'm assured they're plastic. I don't know how flexible they are. And they could do with not being pink, couldn't they? Let's get a different colour. How about that one? There we go. And the idea with these is they have a spiral at either end and they go over a cable. That's at least the idea. And apparently they don't come off. Now, they do feel a bit rubbery. They're very flexible. So we'll see what they're like if I get them on a cable. So here's a cable I happen to have sat next to me. This is an audio cable from a pair of headphones. So I believe the idea is you kind of wrap it round like that at one end. Put that over there and then wrap it round at the other. At least that's the idea. So let's see how easy that is. Oh, that's not bad. Yes, it's incredibly flexible. And you then put a label on that. So would that come off? Not easily, I don't think it would. So the idea with that is you could put that at the end of the cable that is plugged in, you know, like behind the desk, etc., so you know which is which, and then put the label across here, rather than the way I've done it with that, which is wrap the label around it. That will do at the moment in there. It's okay on there because it's on the desk. If it starts to come off, I'll put a piece of sellotape around it. But under the desk, they just come off and they just end up as dust bunnies. So the idea with that is that you can label it and then leave it and it doesn't come off. That's the plan. Now, they weren't actually expensive. Did I put the link in, Mike? I put the link somewhere. I'm sure I probably didn't put it in there, did I? I'll find the link anyway. I'll put it in there. These weren't expensive. I think they were about £3. And how many's in there? What have we got? 20. So 20 of those in various colours. Shame about the pink. They're actually very good. And they're better than I thought they'd be. I thought they could be kind of flimsy, but they're not. So that they bend, but they're stiff enough not to bend unless you actually want them to bend. And the ends are incredibly flexible. They've got a kind of rubber feel to them. And the rubber feel to them means that it wouldn't particularly slide about. So it slid because I moved it. But if I jiggle it, it's not flying off. It's not flying off. Yeah, liking those. I'll print some labels out and try them. Right, let's have a look. So Deborah tried the cable things. Always wanted a bit longer or shorter or whatever. settled on a Ziploc bag. What I do with them is I put them in those travel cases. That's really, when we get to wherever we go, if we're broadcasting from wherever we are, you tend to have cables all over the room. If you remember the pictures we took in York, it looked like a radio studio. That was the day we were doing the YouTube premiere, trying to upload on a shoestring. And we sat outside with a dog in the freezing cold, and we did actually manage to upload it. It was a miracle. But the room was just full of cables, so hopefully it'll work. But I'll bear in mind what you've said, and I'll see what happens to me, if it works or not. Artificial flowers and vines, that's actually a beautiful idea. I think my problem with that is there's far too many cables to do that with. We must show you the MacBites Magic Cupboard at some point, which is proudly sporting. I think we actually ran a competition in the MacBites newsletter a few years back. You had to make a guess as to how many gig of storage was in the MacBites storage cupboard. And the MacBites cupboard has hard drives in it, lined up. And they go back to like a 500 gig hard drive. So I calculated all the storage. Since then, 8 gig has gone in every now and then, so it must be more. The best answer we had was oodles of storage. We love that. But there's a lot of hard drives in there and cables, etc. So I'll show you that at some point. Now we've got this one, which is a big one. This was something that came on offer, and it was something that I would never have thought of, but for the fact, last year when we went to the Munich Memorial, it was freezing. And it was drizzly and it was horrible. And one of the guys there gave us a disposable pack where you basically break the pack like that so it cracks and it heats up. And then I spotted on Amazon one of these. A rechargeable hand warmer. Now this is technology looking for a problem, isn't it? But I'm hopeful. I've got the problem, and this is going to be the solution. It's freezing when we go out. We have to stand there for about 2.5, 3 hours, Mike. Oh, it takes for ages. So I thought it'd be handy to have one of these in my pocket to warm my poor hands on, if it worked. So it's actually dual purpose. So that looks a bit dodgy, doesn't it? It looks like toys of an adult nature. Right, let's take it out. Oh, it's quite compact. It would fit in your hand. It actually looks like the colours that you'd find on toothbrushes and things like that. There we go. So, technically speaking, you need to press this button somehow and it should warm up. What else have we got in the box? Is there anything else in the box? Oh, there should be a cable, shouldn't there? Oh, that looks like it's in there. So let's have a look. Is that in there? Oh, there's lots in here. What's in there? Oh, good grief. All kinds of toys. Oh, including a little pouch for it. Oh, it's got clothes. It's got clothes of its own, Mike. So that goes in there. I presume the heat would come out through there. The other thing that this does, if you are caught short, no, not like that. If you are caught short with your phone, you can plug in, so there's the cable. You can plug in and charge your phone with it. Now, it's only about 5,200, I think. So you probably wouldn't charge an iPhone from dead, but it would certainly charge it sufficiently so you could charge it. So that goes in there like that, and you can charge your phone. And then, of course, this needs charging via the same thing. So let's see if I can get any heat out of it in a minute. What we got here? Best wishes to you. Oh, now they usually give you, it's a tradition, I think. Is it China or Japan? Could be China. Where they give you a gift with the product. So the gift is some stickers. They always send a gift. If you buy something from wherever this country is, whichever one it is, they always send you a gift with it. Have some lovely things with that. Right, so this is the instructions. Hopefully it's fairly self-evident. I should just turn it on, I think. Why do we use hand warmers on cold days? Is this a serious question? Frequently asked questions in foreign languages. Fair enough. Let's just try and turn it on and see how far we get with it. Right, so button at the front. I believe you press and hold. That gives you 1 light. Press again for 2 lights and again for 3 lights. And at that point, it should start smouldering, shouldn't it? This doesn't really work on video, but if I drop it because it's so hot, then you know it's working. So let's see how it goes. Oh, it's warming up. That's actually warming up very fast. It's warming up faster on the back than the front. So on my palm, it's warming up faster than the top, but the top is warming up. Yeah, I would say that that would do its job. I don't know how hot it gets. It's got 3 settings. Does it tell you what the settings are? What the heat is? Well, I think it did. It did on the sales page. So there are 3 different settings, and one is at well over 100 degrees. Will it fit in a glove? Yes, it's about... Let's have a look. It's about 4 and a bit inches. In fact, I've got a ruler. Hang on while I get the ruler out. Although this is probably in centimetres. No, it's got inches on it. How civilised. Right, it is just 4 inches. Fractionally over 4 inches. Is it centimetres? 10.5 centimetres, just over 4 inches. So yes, it would. And the idea is, I think, that you turn it on and then you pop it in there. Like that, because it's getting rather warm. Oh, that's handy. You can see the light through it, so you would know it's turned on. And then you hold it or put it in your pocket. Yes, that's very warm. I'm liking that, Mike. Whoa, that is actually getting very hot. What do you think? Hot. That's good. Liking that. Liking that. There were 3 colours. I went for that one. God, that's getting even hotter. I don't know if anything indicates to you when it's reached its peak heat, but that would keep you warm when you're out. Do you know, when I was a kid and I was stood in the Stretford, the United roadside, that would have been amazing. Instead of which I was freezing.
You've got that in now.
Actually, that's a good point. Would you get that in United? They basically frisk you for everything and take it off you. Mind you, I've had umbrellas in before today, and you're not allowed to take those either. Yes, I'm liking that. That would be very handy. Both in terms of emergency juice for your battery, if necessary, but the hand warming's very, very good. We will use it at the Munich events and let you know how we get on, because it's bound to be freezing. It always is. There was the year that the wind got up, wasn't there? There was the year it drizzled all day. There was the year it snowed. But we do like snow. But yeah, I'm liking that. So how do we turn it off? It's a long press or a short press? A long press to turn it off, and there you go. Excellent. Excellent. Loving that. Right, so that's today's unboxings. Who's buying any of those? That one was about £11, I think. But it was reduced. I only buy things when they're reduced. I do far too much shopping on Amazon when things are reduced, but that's what I do. Right, let's get that lot out of the way. Let's get back to the other thing and see when we're on again. Because we've got part 3, haven't we, of the Notion toy. So let's get over there. You should be seeing blue and get into there. Right, so that was what they were. Cable labels, 20 in a pack. And that's what they actually look like when they're on there. And they do feel very nice. I mean, I was more impressed with that than I thought I was. In fact, this particular picture, the one over here, where's my mouse gone? That one there. I do have blocks like that, and I've got cameras on them, or IP cameras are on them. And I needed to unplug one today to reboot it, and I had no idea which one was which, so I just pulled the lot out and put them back in. But that's a really good use for it. They can be colour-coded as well. Liking that. Definitely liking that. That's the size of them. They are wide enough, luckily, to take the labels from the label maker that I used last week. And those are the colours, and they are pretty accurate, those. I would say the blue is a little bit deeper, but the others are spot on. The blue is definitely a little bit deeper. That's more of a kingfisher. There's close up. That is exactly what it looks like. But what I would say with that is that bit they've got there at that end is not on properly. That little bit there should be coming over, and that should be curled round a bit more. But if they did that, that would be perfect. That's more of the colour that I've got, so it is a little bit darker. The other ones were the cord wraps from Babino. That's how you're supposed to use them. But we're going to see, because Deborah could be quite right. It might not work for me. We'll see. We'll have to see. You know, where's the other side of that? I guess it's just for the picture, isn't it? Then there was a hand warmer. That was the one that I went for. That was where I got the instructions from without reading the instructions. And there's the temperatures. So they are actually 131 Fahrenheit. It's pretty warm, isn't it? So it does definitely get very, very hot. And there's the instructions about how you can use it to charge phones, etc. Oh, it even tells you what power you've got left as well, but I haven't got to that stage yet. So I'll see how long that lasts as well. That was exactly what we got in it, though. Right down to the USB-C cable and the free gifts. So very, very good. Now, we are back next week. But it's Saturday. Saturday, make a note on your diaries. Subscribe, hit the bell, whatever. It's next week. It's Saturday. So it will be better for some and worse for others. Let us know in the chat. Is it better for you or worse for you? It's unavoidable, unfortunately. But it'll be Saturday. Now, of course, we love you. We hope that you love us. Can you give us a like? It would really help. Now, if you want to keep in touch with all that we do, you've got two options. In fact, you've got lots more options than that. There's my VIP list, which is more to do with the videos that I make on YouTube and live sessions, to be honest, but I always send out a mail if I'm going live. The other one is MacBites, which is far more fun. As a lot of you know when you subscribed at Christmas and we did the Advent thing. Free toys for 24 days we did, and we found some fantastic stuff. So MacBites is, you'll get news about the MacBites podcast, you'll get news about the After Hours, and anything else that we try and do. We also have Slack, and we are having a complete ball in Slack. If you are unaware, living under a rock, Slack is a chat application that works. I mean, they aim it at business, but you have rooms, you have an overarching Slack workspace, and everybody is in the workspace. You can use it on desktop and mobile. There's the mobile clients, so that's Android and iPhone. It's got threaded chat, and it's got chat via channels. So we have some channels in there. We have the news channel, the announcements channel, etc. And it's brilliant. Brilliant. See you on Slack, Deborah. You want to be there. You do want to be there. That's not ours. That's a screenshot from them. I'll get some screenshots of ours. That's what I will do. But it's a great place to be. If you want to join us, it's macbites.co.uk/Slack. And we're carrying on the conversation in there. So you want to be with us. You do. It's sort of this, but all week. It's amazing. And that's it. We're going to be back next week on Saturday. We've definitely got part 3 of the Notion thing. We're going to cover GTD because I've said we are, and Mike's made a note of it, haven't you? Mm-hmm. So that'll definitely get done. In the meanwhile, if you want to suggest topics, etc., get in touch. We love to hear from you. And we've also got a channel in Slack where you can make suggestions. So they're in there. I can't deny that you made that suggestion. I can't escape it. So come in there and make suggestions. Other than that, we're going to head off and have something to eat. Graham abandoned us much earlier. And he didn't tell us whether he'd had any mango. I'm possibly contemplating an ice cream myself. Maybe do that. But we're heading off. So it's been a long show. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've got some value from it. Hope you're going to do your homework and get your Notion set up to date, ready for next week. Because next week we're going to extend it. We're going to have notes hooked in with everything else and all kinds of things. And we'll do the technical, non-sexy stuff that will mean that we can do sexier stuff down the line. That's what we're going to do. So thank you very much for being with us. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's good night from me.
It's good night from me.
And we're both going to see you next time. Good night, guys.